Hello and welcome to the incredibly influential and highly successful podcast. May the 4th be with you, except that already happened, even as we're recording this. Um, it's Revenge of the, or it's, there's always a bigger 5th today. It won't be out till the 7th. So
Today is Revenge of the 5th.
no, it's Revenge of the 6th.
Welcome to the incredibly influential and highly successful podcast. I am your host, highly successful.
Yes, I'm also Kael, and I'm incredibly influential. But it's Revenge of the 6th because it's like Sith, but you just added an extra letter. There's always a bigger 5th, like Qui-Gon. Anyhow, hi. How are you? We haven't talked since Thursday, since we did Atop the Table. How are you? How's your weekend?
My weekend. Eventful. Eventful weekend.
Tell me about it.
I went to see 3 shows in one day, I guess. In 3 hours.
Hot damn.
Just went to 3 different shows, all very different types of performances.
Hell yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Tell me about them.
This first one was a show called Natural Causes. And it's a performance that's in the works. So it's not a finished performance. But the piece is performed in front of an audience anyway.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a rehearsal-ish, or like a beta test, maybe?
It's like a continuous work in progress. Each one of the shows is like a step further in the final piece. But each performance of it is not the completed piece.
That sounds like a very theater major grad school project thing. So
yeah, it was really nice. I mean, there's a lot of things added to this show, or in this particular performance, because it was essentially supposed to talk about things caused by climate change. Like, it started with a chant of people saying that, they're sorry, that like people weren't saved in different languages. So in some ways it felt like the beginning of the show was trying to show like a worldly style of performance, like to any audience. And then
that makes sense. Sorry, I'm not talking too much. I'm eating beef jerky.
That's fine. I'll talk about this show.
Keep going. And the other two as well.
Yeah, so the rest of this show was about different monologues about people who experience something in their life that is like related to nature, whether it's the raccoon rivers or trees, or anything in that kind of way. But the pieces weren't they weren't specific enough that you couldn't tell if the person saying it was like a human. Like, it could be any species, really, in like an ecosystem, telling like their animal brethren about something that they experienced in their life related to nature and it being taken away. And there was a bunch of other interesting pieces done in the show as well. It was a combination of these monologues and
Sounds very interesting.
of music, dance performances connected to the music. A lot of the stuff was about looking up at the sky
Mm-hmm.
and
That yeah, I will
yes,
say again,
really surreal.
that sounds very fucking drama school major, you know,
Yeah, it was
type
really
thing.
great because you could see a lot of different kinds of talent
Mm-hmm.
shown.
Yeah, it sounds like sort of like maybe a little niche, you know, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm sure I would probably have enjoyed it, but
Yeah, a lot
you
of
know,
what it was about was also um, kind of the the occupancy of space
mm,
to
mm-hmm,
um, protect it. It was all
mm-hmm,
this. It was all this stuff, but I don't know. Like those things were pretty good, but there were some
mm-hmm.
other things that were said in this show that you know I didn't agree with.
Yeah, I think
But
climate
I mean,
change is a
that's
contentious
that's
issue.
that only has to do with the messages of the show. The
Mm-hmm,
people who performed it were were perfect.
mm-hmm.
No notes there.
Yeah, I think there's I think there's room for that, you know, to recognize that the themes of a piece are not something you can personally get behind, but still enjoy the performance. And that sort of ties into the the debate that I that I have planned for later on this episode. I hope you're ready for that. But
Sure, we can talk about that. I just want to say that you know it was quite a variety of different things
mhm,
being done and used with the space
yeah, it
in the
sounds like
show. Like
really
they
interesting.
did this thing during the show where they would like um shake up and down repeatedly with their toes on the floor. And then what that would do would make the floor vibrate
Oh yeah,
in the stage. And
yeah.
and they offered seats so that you could sit down on the floor instead of a chair. And so if you were sitting down on the floor, you could feel it. I mean, so could everyone else, but
Hmm.
it was quite a creative way of using the space, but also kind of I understand people not enjoying looking at that, but that was cool that you know
Yeah.
they did that. Every time I was like, this is so fun that they like
Wait, so you saw it
what?
three
Where did you do
times?
that? Do that? What?
So you saw this show three times, or did you see
No.
this show and
I
then see it
saw
twice?
show 1
Mm-hmm.
and then I left
Mm-hmm.
and I went to show 2.
What was show two?
Show 2 was this place. It was a show where you walk into a warehouse and it's a job interview
Interesting.
spot. You go there and it's not even that. It starts as a warehouse. You get to a warehouse and there's a skate park right next to the warehouse. And then you walk into the warehouse and the warehouse is like a space for a job interview. And so when you
Yeah.
walk in as a person in the audience, they say pull a ticket and take a form and then fill it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're officially a part of the show and you just have to walk around in space. And then all this crazy stuff would happen in the show where um like we'd say pull a ticket or not like that, but maybe like should we go upstairs? We would ask should we go upstairs? And then someone would go up. Like I don't know who this person is, but the person just goes up the stairs,
This
and
sounds
it's like,
very cerebral.
maybe we'll go up. And but yeah, watching that being done before you want to do it, and then people saying like, where do we go? And then someone comes down and it's like, I can't have this happen right now, and is like freaking out, and then someone has to calm her down. But it's all improvised, and it's all really good, but it's so crazy. It's such a chaotic moment in this
This
space.
seems very, very cerebral.
Yeah, there's also these beds, and they have cameras on the beds, and like my friend would take a picture of the bed, and then someone else would do it later.
I mean,
Just like another person in the space. I don't know, like, oh my god, that's just a repeat of this. But I don't know anyone here.
I don't know.
And then like people I'm friends with are actually a part of it as well. And then there's it's for a job interview. And so you'll have this person in the back that also has a camera on him. And he's the person doing all the interviews for a job. And he'll like skip a bunch of numbers and then call a number. And that number will be like just the number ahead of the ticket you pull when you go in with your form. So you'll get like skipped. Like it happened to me when I went in. Like he skipped all the way to like the number past me and my friend. And then it happened to somebody else that I talked to that same place. So everyone was getting like cut from the interview.
And you just leave when
the show ended when the guy left, and he was like, I'm not doing anymore. It's like, if you pulled a ticket, sorry, this selective process has said that, you aren't getting this. It's so funny because that was after all these women rushed the office space.
What is the plot?
This was the plot. This was the whole plot. It was like, okay, we have this. And this was everything that happened when I arrived. I didn't arrive when the show started. But when I did, this was what's all happening.
To describe in the podcast format. This seems way too cerebral. What is the name of this? So that way if it happens for our audience, they know they can like go in and experience it for themselves.
I don't know the name of it, but it's really great. I liked all these. Like there would just be like a session stand with like food. There was like grape juice that someone took.
Yeah.
There's all this stuff. I mean, I probably shouldn't have eaten this cheese, but that's what someone said. Someone went up to me and was like, you should go up because there's cheese and other things up there.
I mean, it's catered. Might as well, right?
Yeah, but I didn't know. This was the show. It was just this waiting room.
That seems very... Yeah, I
we were told you can go to the beds, which is really funny. And like no one got a job at the end of it. The person doing the interviews would actually do an interview, and it would be with a guy named Josh. Be like, I can't believe that's, yeah. And then would say, that's the conclusion of our interview. Thank you, Josh. And then Josh wouldn't get the job, and then neither would anyone else. And then the show ended and no one had one. And there was a wall of people's forms.
This seems like it was written by some like 95 IQ kind of guy who smoked a lot of pot, and he was like, "Whoa, man, what if we did this, bro?" Like, this seems like very like average person's idea of like super cerebral stuff, but it only makes sense in their head, and they don't really know what to communicate the idea, because like I don't understand like what are the themes, what's the point, you know?
The point was everything about that was waiting to get a job, and this is how it's being done, and like nothing's getting done and no one's getting jobs.
Okay, but what does that have to say about like society or anything like that? What does that have to say? You know? I
Like
don't get it.
sometimes you go through that. That's what it's trying to say. Sometimes
Okay.
you go to a place and like the work isn't done because of all of these really stupid things that happen, and everyone is willing to rush to like the person not getting anything done, and that guy still won't hire anyone.
But what about that? Okay. You've described a situation.
It's all those frustrations you get when you're trying to like find a job. People freaking out about like things going on that have to be done, or like being at the door and not having the form. There's like all this stuff and all these people breaking down over this during the show, because this was it. There was nothing else going on in the space other than these things.
I don't know. I think some people are like David Lynch, and some people are like Ed Wood, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. What about show 3?
It was just an acapella show, but it was a May the 4th themed acapella show.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. How was your May the 4th? I know you were.
That was my May the 4th.
Oh, wait, that was yesterday. I don't know what day it is anymore. I'm so um what my my week, my last week was Dead Week. Was it also your Dead Week, or is that this week?
I don't know. I feel pretty alive right now.
Well, Dead Week is the week before finals. You know, they cram all that last little bit of work in right before finals, right? So this week, you know, today's Sunday, right? This week is finals week for me. So last week was Dead Week. I had a lot of shit done, but I got it all done in a reasonable time frame. And then my mom came over for the weekend. My mom flew in on Friday, and I just got back from taking her to the airport. So, yeah. So that was my weekend. You know, uh, uh,
Well, I'm glad you got to see your mom.
yeah.
Wonderful.
It's been like 5 months. I haven't seen her since early to mid January. It's she's been down in Florida, so yeah, it was nice to see her. We we got Mexican, went to the bar, got a little wasted, came home. She went to bed early. She's a early to bed, late to rise. She sleeps half the day, and then takes a nap too. But you know
She's
we
a
did.
day sleeper.
She's a day sleeper and a night sleeper. She fucking. There's no time she ain't asleep. But then yesterday we got went out and got breakfast. We had the HVAC guy come over and fix some shit. She took a nap. I took her out to an early Mother's Day dinner because I'm not going to be there for Mother's Day. So we did that, and
That's good.
then yeah, took her out to the Italian place in town, and then we went home, and she went to bed, and then woke up this morning, did some stuff, figured out some scheduling for the summer, and then took her to the airport. And now I'm here. But oh, and yesterday she filled up my fridge and my pantry, so I have alcohol, food, so much fucking food. Yeah. So like I, this whole time, you guys probably heard the can opening. I'm drinking a summer shandy because it's finally summer shandy time. So if you're old enough to drink legally, you know, what's the toast in Russian? I don't remember. L'chaim. That's Jewish. There you go. L'chaim. There you go. Mazel tov. And if you're not legal to drink, do it
Or
anyway. Don't be a
if you
coward.
don't want to drink,
Do it anyway. Don't be a coward. But
I would say
God,
don't drink. If you don't want to drink, don't drink.
peer pressure. Drink. Don't be a coward. But yeah, I've been missing my summer shandy. It's been a while. It's been since Thanksgiving since I had some Liney's. I fucking love Liney's. It's so good. I think it's like my favorite beer. But yeah, so I'm just drinking that, eating some beef jerky from Buc-ee's that my mom brought me, and also some almonds. You probably heard the almonds; they're pretty loud. But yeah, I'm chilling like a villain because I already ended 2 classes, right? I ended up with 2 A's already, and then I have to get like an 82% on my chem final to get an A there. I forget what I have to get on the final in my business law class, but I'm just barely sitting in an A, so I have to be pretty careful there. And that's the final I'm taking tonight. So, wish me luck. You guys, unless you're on Patreon, you guys probably won't even hear this, but wish me retroactive luck, and maybe that's how luck works. Maybe it goes retroactively. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
maybe you'll study. Maybe it's study and not luck.
I mean, I study. I'm gonna take a look at some stuff. There's some stuff that got cut out, so I have to remember not to worry about that because it was on the quiz, but we didn't go through it in class. So I have to purge it from my brain because the last chapter was wills, trusts, and insurance. And we didn't get to the trusts and insurance yet, so I have to purge them from my mind. It's just wills and real property and whatever the chapter was before this one. And that's it. So that's nice because I know about wills and I know about real property. So that's oh, I think it's like no, it's not stocks. It's not stocks. It's something else. But I'll remember soon. Because I'm gonna study because I have to get it. I at least want to get an A minus in this class, and I think I will. But I would like to get straight A's this semester. Yeah.
That's good. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to graduate. I already have the next thing planned.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I can focus on what's next,
Speaking of
I'll
what's
be good.
next, would you like to share with the class? Because you told us
Yeah, I
off
had a
camera.
you want to hear about the third show I went to see?
You said it was acapella and May the 4th themed, but if there's
Yeah,
more, please
that's
do.
about it. I
All right.
mean, all the songs were great. All these seniors sang
Mm-hmm.
total bangers.
Absolutely. John Williams writes nothing less.
No, not really that. Just
Oh, is it like
just like
Star Wars themed?
no, just the Star Wars themed skit. But all the songs were
John Williams?
no,
Oh,
not
all
John
right.
Williams. They were like they were just pop focused, or I mean they were just
Mm.
yeah, really
All right.
good acapella songs. Anyway, the Star Wars skit was great because
Mhm.
they went to George Lucas for the rights to use Star Wars for their show.
And I assume he granted it.
Well,
I would hope.
they do a duel. They duel George Lucas.
Oh,
It's like
that's the plot.
good. Fortunately for you, are you ready? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
lucky for me, I've been training for this my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And then duels George Lucas, and George Lucas is defeated. And then
Thank God.
and
Thank
then
fucking God.
the um the the Crosbys, which is their group,
Mm-hmm.
says
Oh, I get it.
what?
The Binghamton Crosbys.
Yes,
Like
that's
I
right.
get it. I get it. I'm so smart. Continue.
Um, they say, "Will you give us the rights?" And then goes, "Wait a minute, he doesn't own the rights anymore to Star Wars."
That's a good one actually. There you go. Yeah. Wait, do it in a George Lucas voice. Like, wait a minute, I don't own the rights. I can't do a good George Lucas. I can't.
I'm not gonna do it.
Do all right. Do it in Harrison Ford's voice then, because I know you do a mean Harrison Ford.
Uh,
It's been a while since you've done it, huh?
yeah.
Since we did the script reading 2 years ago. Two
Yes.
years in one day.
Time travels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a shame you couldn't make it. Me and Danny's watch party on Thursday night.
Yeah, I was doing other things on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, we had a good time without you. Yeah, it was mostly me talking about like the editing and like the background and the production and shit, but we had a good time. It would have been better with you though. You were sorely missed. But yeah, we had a great time. And then yeah. Yeah, so we had fun with that. That came out for free, everyone. That came out on May the 4th at 5:04 p.m. You know, like five, like you get it. You get it. But yeah, we had a great time. A fun time was had by all. And then afterwards, Kat was in the Discord call because she hadn't seen it in a while, but we thought it was her first watch of it, so we didn't want to like spoil that for her. I forgot that she would have been able to hear Danny the whole time, so she heard all of Danny's commentary but none of mine.
Oh.
So that kind of ruined the viewing.
No,
But she
that
had seen it
sounds
before.
great. That sounds like the best what that's a great way to promote it. Is that all in it or no?
No, we ended the recording before I unmuted and talked to Kat. But apparently Danny and Kat were talking like all night.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm glad.
And
I'm glad they
and
got to
Kat
like hang
couldn't
out.
hear you at all.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure I was the one talking most of the time anyway. I don't remember looking at the waveform because I did it Thursday night, Friday morning. But yeah, but yeah, I had a busy Thursday. I went to campus for literally about five. I spent 5 minutes in the building. I spent more time walking than I spent in the actual building. I turned in one thing for Thursday, which got me an A, so I don't have to take the final in that class. And then I talked to my other professor, and she was like, "Yeah, you have all your papers in. You already have an A. You don't need to. You don't need to show up for this one." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So I literally, again, I spent more time walking and driving than I did on campus. It was great. Um, but yeah, so I don't have to leave the house for any of the rest of my finals because they're all online. So I'm done leaving my house for
That's
school stuff.
that's cool. So you don't have to go to campus again.
I have to do book buybacks on Monday. That's it. I have to see if they'll buy back my books. But other than that, yeah. Yes, we're just chilling. I gotta do my business law final tonight, and then I don't know. What should I do, Maxwell? I want your opinion. Should I do my chemistry final or my calculus final first? Because they're both gonna suck.
Do the chemistry final first.
Okay, I'll do my calculus final last because I think last semester I did my my pre-calculus final first. So yeah, all right, I will do that. I'll do my chemistry final on Monday, and I'll do my calculus final on Tuesday. Hell yeah. Um, and I think Hang on, let me drink some more beer real quick. I fucking love summer shandy. It's so good. Liney's, sponsor me. I love Liney's. Have you ever had Liney's, Maxwell?
I don't think I have.
So, you know, the Miller brand, you know, they're like the big brewers in Milwaukee, but Milwaukee has so many different like beer places in that general area. There's like some that are like downtown in Milwaukee, and then there are some that are like not in Milwaukee but like
Yeah,
around the area.
you could throw a rock in Milwaukee
Mm-hmm.
and it would hit a beer manufacturer.
Yeah, you cannot swing a cat in Milwaukee without hitting either a beer can or a beer bottle. It is, yeah.
Yeah,
Love.
everything you throw will hit a beer bottle in Milwaukee.
I mean, literally, their baseball team is the fucking Brewers, and they're awesome. But Leinenkugels is like the like the smaller big beer manufacturer, and they make Leinenkugel Summer Shandy, which is beer and lemonade, and it's delicious. And they where it comes from is there's this idea called a Rattler, which is German for bicycle, right? So back in Germany, you know the Germans like to drink beer. They fucking love that shit, right? So there was a tavern in Munich, owned by a guy named Franz Kugler, and he was like super overwhelmed one day, and there was way too much beer, or there were way too many people who wanted beer, and not enough beer itself. So he started cutting it with lemonade, right? And they started calling it, a Radler, right? Because people loved it, right? And it's a thing. My mom drinks them, but it's called a Radler, which again German for bicycle, because you can drink it and you won't be too drunk to ride your bicycle home. So I like that. But it's called Summer Shandy, and it's awesome. Liney Summer Shandy. I got it on clearance. I don't know why I
Yeah.
got it on fucking clearance.
You really you're still drinking it?
Yeah, I'm about like half a can in. But yeah, I got a Liney's case on clearance for like $13 for 12 cans. It's ridiculous because Summer Shandy's fucking awesome. I've been waiting literally since Thanksgiving to have more Summer Shandies because I got it on tap when I was in Florida, and they only make it in the summer. So unless you like order it off like Amazon or something, the stores don't stock it. So it's
Yeah,
like
so it's
impossible to
seasonal.
get. So I only get it in the summer, but it's fucking awesome. And I'm glad that it is now summertime. That's how you know it's summertime. And also the fact that where I live in Illinois, there's no spring. They just flip the switch from cold as balls and rainy, if not snowy, to hot as fuck and humid. So yeah, we out here drinking cold beers with lemonade in it, and it's delicious.
In
But
the hot spring.
because it's not quite summer. But I was a little confused when you said hot spring. I was like, wait, there is
So you
actually a
got it.
spring near here. There's actually a spring near here, but I've never
Yeah,
been there.
with that kind of temperature, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Or that kind of weather.
Mm-hmm. But we just, we just chill and we drink the beer. Right now, it's not super hot outside. I'm in the shade right now, and I left like my door open so my dog could come in and out. And I turned off my AC, and it's like super comfortable. I can't tell. It's like Troy said, it's like room temperature, and this is that room. I can't tell where the air, where my skin ends and the air begins. So it's like it's not super bad outside.
That sounds grimy.
No, it's like
Where your skin ends?
like the air doesn't feel hot or cold. It is just exactly comfortable, and it's really nice.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's great. But after that big long non-sponsored ad for Leinenkugels, we have to actually do some ads where we get paid. So come join us after, where I'm going to absolutely own you in our May Star Wars Day, May the 4th debate. So stay tuned.
This episode is sponsored by Liquid IV, the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. We've been partnering with them all summer, and I've been using it to beat the heat through some of these particularly nasty heat waves. While it was scorching hot outside, I was staying cool and refreshed with Liquid IV and their 12 delicious flavors.
One stick of liquid IV in 16 ounces of water hydrates you twice as fast and far more efficiently than water alone, and it also contains 5 essential vitamins and 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks, without any GMOs, gluten, dairy, or soy. Liquid IV is also committed to equitable access to clean water worldwide, partnering with leading organizations to fund and foster innovative solutions with communities that protect both their water and their futures, and donating 39 million servings in 50 plus countries around the world.
Real people, real flavor, real hydrating. Get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code IIHSPodcast, all one word, at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code IIHSPodcast, again, all one word, at liquidiv.com. Thank you again to Liquid IV for partnering with us.
This podcast is sponsored by Amanda Redwine, your no-nonsense talk therapist and parent coach. Serving individuals and couples in both Illinois and Florida for counseling/therapy, as well as worldwide for parent coaching. Amanda's specialty is working with teens and young adults, as well as their family systems. Amanda has extensive experience working with youth who identify on the LGBTQIA+ spectrum. She has also done couples work based on a foundation of the Gottman method. She brings a light, no-nonsense approach to treatment that is approachable and empathetic. She is unflappable and makes her clients comfortable from the very beginning. Find out more at www.amandaredwine.com. That's AMANDAREDWINE.com. Thank you again for sponsoring this episode, and back to the show. Okay. Hello, welcome back. I've been talking about this for a while. Also, I literally, right before I hit the button to start this recording, I said, I forgot what I was going to look up. I just remembered what I'm going to look up. I hate my brain sometimes.
We're back, and Kael has forgotten what he remembers.
Okay, I remembered what I remembered. Okay. I needed to check a date for next week's episode. Ooh, fancy schmancy. Very exciting. But for now, it's the debate you've all been waiting for. Why Padme fucking blows? Or
is that going to be the whole next half hour? I feel like we should explain this differently.
Probably not the whole next half hour, but I do have a lot of points that I would like to bring up. But also, we can talk about the Bad Batch finale and Tales of the Empire if you want first, because I watched all those last night.
Okay.
And we watched the Bad Batch finale. We kind of talked about this. We kind of texted about it, but I didn't want to get too into it. I know you're going to be more positive about it than I am. So let's hear the good from you, and then I'll do the bad.
So when we talk about Tales of the Empire.
Oh no, we're talking about Bad Batch season 3 finale first.
Okay, well, I think that was nice. Sorry. I think it was good that we had like a good ending for our heroes. There's a lot of things wrapped up very well for the end of this show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was nicely tied in with the rest of the Star Wars canon as well, so that when you close on that show, you can kind of go into anything.
And yeah, it's definitely wrapped up in a neat little bow.
It'll help you understand like other elements of Star Wars in a new way.
Yes.
Having seen that and then going back to other Star Wars media.
Yes. Yes, I will
Like
agree with that.
like Tarkin is still a villain that is not dealt with, but is a
Not even
presence,
close. Yeah.
and he is Star Wars.
Hmm. Oh yeah, we just saw him. We just saw good old Peter Cushing in the movie, in the watch party. Because I kept talking about. Oh, I'm sure you probably know this, but anytime you can't see Peter Cushing's feet in the movie, he is wearing slippers because those boots hurt his feet. I don't know if they were the right size, if they were just uncomfortable in general, but he was like, "Fuck this! I'm only wearing them in like 2 shots. The rest of the time, I'm wearing slippers." And that's
Yeah,
true.
and he
That's
can
a true
focus
fact.
on acting.
And he did a great job. He is just the way he delivers all of his lines, the accent, and the way he like trills his R's.
There's no better
Oh,
there's no better person in charge of
right.
a planet-killing machine.
Yes. He's I love Tarkin. I'm very sad that we didn't get more Peter Cushing in the role, but the new guy they get to do his voice and like the CGI nightmare Tarkin in Rogue One, still good. Still fucking fire. Still a great performance for real. But he's so good. Such a good villain. And it was interesting to see him being like not in control, right? For he was like, "Hey Hemlock, how's it going? Hey man, and like he wasn't like top dog.
Well, it's because we know what would happen if Tarkin was there.
Mm-hmm.
They
Which
would
is
not have won.
no, absolutely not, absolutely not. Bad
So,
Batch would be fucking dead by the end of the first season if Tarkin was in charge.
which makes it great because that helps you understand how important it was that
Mm-hmm.
the show ended in that way. Because
Mm-hmm.
if they brushed with Tarkin, that would be the end. So
Yes.
it was that close.
Mm-hmm. And then he's like, turn over or spoilers. He's like, turn over all the resources to Project Stardust. And that's obviously we know what that is. And yeah, and that's just super cool. Like, and we get it like an in canon explanation of why Project Necromancer never really got revived, and it sort of died with Hemlock,
Well, it kind of got revived with Gideon, but like
with Hux. Technically,
and
with Brindle
Hux.
Hux. Yeah.
Yes. But
Mm-hmm.
that's why that was unsuccessful at that time, and then
Mm-hmm.
it explains why it still isn't done by the
Mm-hmm.
time of the events of Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really interesting. And I think another positive thing is tying into that how characters who really don't realize the significance of what they're doing, plus like who aren't really super significant in the rest of the events of the galaxy, have done something that is like so actually significant, and they'll never really get how significant it was, mostly because Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair have accelerated aging. They'll be dead by the 30 plus years when like the First Order shows up, right? Because Hunter's already looking pretty gray in the ending scene right before the credits.
Yeah, he's
He's
like one of the old clones, but less fat. It's all
in his
that.
own huntery kind of way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
probably it's that different
The mutations. Yeah,
genetic mutation.
yeah. Also, I want to say
But
neither one of us.
imagine.
Yeah, I do want to say that neither one of us got particularly close to bingo. You were. Oh shit! Yeah, you were right. You were one off from bingo. Um, you definitely got closer than I did, and you definitely got more than I did. I only got 2. Yeah, I only got 2 out of the what is it, 24 squares that we
Nice. That's
had
kind of impressive that I was
that I
one
got.
away
So
from bingo.
yeah, you definitely got more. I think you got like 6 or 7 or 8. So you got about a third of your predictions right. You just didn't have them in the right order to get a bingo. The one you missed was R2D2
I wanted
or
someone to
C-3PO.
die. I wanted more people to die, but like I get
too.
it. Echo, like
Mhm.
no one. I mean, no one other than the person who did die in that show. Like that was perfect.
Oh my god! All right, now
Like,
can I get into the negative? Do
yeah,
we know
you
the
wanna
positives
you
we
wanna
talk
start
about?
hating on the show now?
You're goddamn right, I do. Scorch went out like a bitch. Fuck you. They killed my boy Scorch. He was one note character. They did nothing with him. Fuck you.
He
They
was in
killed
the
my boy.
whole show.
And he got no personality. They took the character with the most personality in Republic Commando and made him a nobody, made him a nothing. And then all of the Clone X guys.
I mean, it's
right?
kind of a nice nod to Republic Commando, I think.
It's a nice nod that he's in there, but they never did anything with his personality in Clone Wars, and they never did anything with his personality here.
Well, it's a new iteration of the character.
A new and infinitely worse iteration, yeah.
But it kind of is interesting to think about if you want to connect the pieces together and think about what that might have meant for the time in between.
Don't care. Should have had more personality. Shouldn't have gone out like a bitch. Yeah, that was shitty. And then the Clone X's. Literally none of them were interesting or got any personality or we got any hint of their identity. One note fucking villains. This show sucks with its villains, man. All of its villains are boring. This has no good villains other than Tarkin. And he barely shows up. So we really fell short on the villains front. Admiral Rampart's death was pretty cool. Nalase and Rampart killing each other was pretty cool.
Yeah, did you like Rampart at the end?
I did like that he did a heel turn again.
Because Rampart is like the other big villain of this show.
Yeah, I would say he's the best villain just because of what he accomplished, right? Like, I like the performance of
Of what he accomplished. Whoa. I mean,
he killed the fucking Kaminoans, man. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That has a lot of consequences for the universe.
He bombarded Camino.
Yeah, and he killed most of them. I actually had some ideas about that in like, what they could do with that in the future in Star Wars.
I mean, I think it's powerful enough on its own to think about.
I'd like to
we have these really dramatic moments in Star Wars. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Continue.
But like the destruction of Alderaan.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Camino?
Mm-hmm. Geonosis as well. Sort of the same thing.
Yeah, there's those things. But like it's something to see it as well.
Yeah. That scene, the way it was shot, that was the highlight of season 1 for me. That was awesome. You know?
You have to you can't deny what you see when you see that happening.
It was dope.
That is an evil thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad they didn't try to redeem him. I'm glad he had a heel turn there at the end, and Emery had a face turn. Oh, you know what? I will give you credit for sets up a sequel show and segue into another animated show. Oh, you said segue into Rebels. I said set up for another animated show. Oh, I already marked that down. But yeah, Emery with the little Force kids. Yeah, that was definitely a setup for an animated show.
Imagine that's what that kids show becomes. Jedi Adventures. That would be a crazy shift.
I mean, it would be a shift of a few hundred years. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. There's a lot of cool characters in the show. I liked all these force sensitive children and Gungi.
Yeah, Gungi. I love Gungi.
Actual Jedi.
Mm-hmm. It's few and far, but they drop all these fucking plot lines. Ventress came back. What did they do with her? Used her for one episode. Says she's like, yeah, Omega has powers, but I'm not going to do anything about it. Bye. And that's it. It's dropped plotline after dropped plotline after dropped plotline. Setups for other animated shows. Setups for other spin-offs, right? Did we get the fucking Cody and Rex reunion that we all wanted? No. Did we get to find out that they didn't actually kill Tech? No. I'm still adamant that they didn't, but whatever.
Well, I think this show kind of mirrors the Clone Wars in the sense that you get these characters that intersect with the show. Like you get two offs with Wolf, technically two.
Yeah.
And you get one with Cody. And you get Senator Chuchi.
That's
You
true.
have-
And it should be about the Bad Batch. That is true.
You have Rex
But
in some of these episodes.
I find these other
quite a
characters
few.
more interesting than the Batch. I'm sorry. I can't get into the Bad
But
Batch.
you get to keep seeing these characters through the Batch.
It's true, and I like that. I just wish they had
Like Harrison Dula also.
Oh yeah, and her.
I really think that she's had a lot to do as a character in the Star Wars canon. And she's a really cool character to shout out. Like that's
the last 12 months have been very good for her as a character. You know?
Yeah, I really like all the scenes with Hera and Ahsoka. It's really nice. Like she kind of is. It feels like she had a real relationship with Kanan Jarrus in the way that she's presented. The way. Yeah,
and she had a real relationship
really
with
cool.
Ezra.
Yes,
that was...
yeah, a reunion with. That's like a big spoiler, but it's been out.
It's been so many months. We spoiled it that week. Okay.
But that was that was really a nice tie-in, like that connection in live action to 4 seasons of animation.
All right, but the clone uprising happening on Tantus without Captain Rex? What the fuck? What even is the point of all that Rex is trying to do if the main clone uprising happens without him?
Well, we watched all the people that he recruited die.
Not all of them.
We know what happened to them. Well, yeah, we know what happened. We know one of them didn't die. That's it.
In that final scene, there's a whole bunch of clones on Pabu. There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, but the implication is that they get to choose what they want to do with their lives.
No, I'm saying that Rex should have been there on the mission to help free them. Because, he lost everyone before. And he has a chance to save some more. Like,
I mean,
we could have had an arc with him.
Maybe they're saving his character for something else. And there's plenty of things that he's already done. That it doesn't need to be about him. The show isn't about him.
There's so much they could do with these other characters intersecting in these adventures, right? Like, I just feel it was a letdown because we got nothing about Cody. We got nothing about who the Clone X clones were. There were fucking nobody. Scorch went out like a bitch. No characterization. It just feels like a lot of missed opportunities. And that's what I don't like. I don't like when something sets up a lot of things and doesn't pay them off.
I think there was a big payoff in that finale. Well, also just like Crosshair in this whole show, like from beginning to end, is such a complex character, and grows a lot throughout the entirety of the show. And it's an interesting story to tell.
I feel like they should have killed Wrecker instead.
Yeah,
Fuck
I
Wrecker.
I just think
All my
about
homies hate Wrecker.
the sympathy I could have to like Crosshair's resolution
Hmm.
in the show,
Like
and
he's an
then
absolute menace
what,
to society.
but also, kind of how he acts in uh the third season as a whole, like
Hmm.
that was a pretty great transformation. Also, we're going to be talking about this all the time now because it's now out, but like he loses his hand in the
They're
end.
not doing anything more with him. He lost his hand. So what? What?
Well,
The show's over.
well, I mean that's what happens to like all these Star Wars characters during
Oh
really
yeah,
really pivotal moments. They lose
they
a
love
hand.
losing hands. They love losing hands. You know, even Anakin
Can't
managed
stop
to lose
losing
both.
hands.
He managed to lose both his hands and
And
his leg.
then the other one again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. Lose a lot of limbs, but um, what was I gonna say? I think I don't know. I felt a little bit disappointed. I felt like it set up a lot of things. I wanted a lot of things out of it because there were a lot of plot points that felt like they were building up. You know, Clone Uprising with Captain Rex, Commander Cody coming back.
Well, those things can't really happen for the events of um what happens after to work.
Clone X could have been Cody, and they could have, you know, brought him out of his brainwashing. Easy.
Well, he wasn't
Easy.
brainwashed. I think the one episode we saw could be convincing enough to see that that character had, you know, second thoughts.
No, I'm saying because what's his name? Rampart said that Cody went AWOL, right? I was thinking that AWOL means they figured out that he was having second thoughts, they captured him, and then they brainwashed him. That's why I thought it was Clone X. It was either that or it was Tech. But it turns out it's fucking nobody because nobody cares. You set up this mysterious villain. It's Chekhov's gun, right?
I
It's
don't
like
I don't see the connection. I think it's just another character. It's like a clone variant. Didn't I have that on my bingo card?
I wouldn't say they're new clone variants because they were introduced in season 2.
But what about all the other ones in the finale?
I wouldn't say they're new clone variants. I just say they use different weapons.
All right, well, you can use whatever
You
other
still won't
semantics you want.
That's not the bingo card because the bingo piece you were missing was C3PO or R2D2.
Yeah,
And that definitely didn't happen. I can tell you for a fact that didn't happen.
but I couldn't help it. I can't help seeing. I'm so disappointed that the fact that they are the characters in every movie is no longer true. I am immeasurably disappointed by that.
I mean, that happened. You've had 6 years to get over that because that happened 6 years ago this month. So
I'm still mad about it.
But
Just like a picture. Just like, have you seen these? But it wouldn't make sense, I guess. But
not really.
maybe like visitors of the bar. Just like a small, like, it doesn't have to be like, oh, someone, like they were actually there. It's like, but
I don't know. It seems like you're more mad at Solo than Bad Batch because Solo was the one to break it.
yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I overall enjoyed the end of the show.
It was good but disappointing. Season 1 had a better finale because here's a hint, Dave. Stop setting things up if you don't want to pay them off.
I think it's great setup. I think it's just you don't really need to add more to it. You can just come back to it later.
I guess. I don't know. Tales of the Empire. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. All right.
Which character's arc did you like more, Morgan or Barriss?
Morgan's was pretty good.
Yeah. I didn't like what they did with Barris. I feel like they made
didn't?
Barris a pushover. Yeah.
I mean, she does some pretty like major things throughout the show.
In Clone Wars, she does some pretty heinous shit.
Yeah, so it kind of is a reflection on what she's done in that show, but put
Yeah.
in this show as well. And
I
then
don't.
she changes,
Mm-hmm.
which is
That-
interesting.
Yeah. It sort of felt too on the dime because that first episode, right, reflects that she's
On the dime,
Mhm.
like I don't know what that means. Like it kind of I think the rhythm of how things happened kind of helped us get to that point. Like it was really like a very new I feel like that sort of storytelling was almost an improvement in this but I think it matches. It's great. It was a really good series of episodes about people whose lives were changed by the Empire.
But that first,
And
you know,
who changed their own lives by using the Empire and like what they chose to do. And it's like each of these characters chose very different things.
counterpoint, they set Barris up to be a complete asshole at the end of Clone Wars.
What?
They set her up to be a complete asshole in the first episode of her arc. And then literally she has no time to be evil in episode 2. There's no point where she like stops being a dick, right? She just immediately just isn't a dick anymore. And she's like, hey, you're a little kid. Hey, we're going to help you, And it's like, bro, you bombed a hangar and killed 5 people, including a former friend. And then you blamed it on your best friend, right? Like, no. You don't get to be redeemed that quick after that.
I don't think it's that quick. We've waited a long time, and I think so is this character.
But she didn't wait a long time. It was like, so she was in prison for like a few months, and then they bring her out, and then literally her first mission, she's like, actually, fuck the Empire. Fuck the Inquisitors. I'm gonna leave now, sorry. And they keep adding.
I don't know why you act like that's such a bad choice for her character to make.
Because
I think it's like. Are you mad at the choice that she makes? Because then
I'm mad that we didn't get to
see
her being evil and being conflicted for longer. This was not the right format to tell her story. If they wanted to tell her story, do a full miniseries on this.
Why? I think this was like a good match of her characterization from the Clone Wars.
Does she have? What conflict does she have at all?
I don't know what you mean by that. The threat is that if she's still a Jedi, they'll kill her. It's as simple as that.
But she wasn't a Jedi. She said, fuck the Jedi.
Yeah, and then she was
also
arrested.
Turned to the dark side.
She was arrested for like doing things as a Jedi. That word. I don't know. I don't understand what you mean.
She turned to the dark side. She said, I have fucking Ventress's lightsabers now. They suit me more, don't they? That's the
yeah, that means she's irredeemable.
No, I'm saying like she turned to the dark side, but we don't get to see that. Like we get to see her do a little bit with Grand Inquisitor. Also, thank you, Jason Isaacs, for coming back. We love you. Best part of season 1 of Rebels by far. And like we got to see her like give in to her anger a little bit. Stay as like a dark side Force user. She kills her other Jedi guy, right? But then like on her first fucking mission, She literally does no evil shit, right? She's like still basically a fucking Jedi, and I don't like it because if you want to have a
Well, you don't have a
like
lot of time to tell these stories,
that's
and it
why I
doesn't.
said it's the wrong format.
But it also doesn't mean that like they haven't already spent time being inquisitors doing other things. It's also not as
Then we should have
important
seen it.
to telling the story to like show this stuff that won't directly get the character to this point. It kind of like that they have a very limited amount of time to tell the stories.
And I think that if
And
they
it's
wanted
kind
to
of
do that
important to
story,
focus, but it's kind of important to focus on the biggest moments that would change that character's um you know
okay,
feelings on something. And so it's kind of efficiently used. It's not just effective but efficient because of the limiting factors of how much time you can spend animating and telling a complete story. I
okay.
feel
How would you feel if the prequels were 45 minutes long? They were this long. You know, from we had Kid Anakin in a 15-minute short, and then angsty teenager Anakin in the second one, and then long hair Anakin in the third. How do you feel about that? Wouldn't be enough time to do that story justice, would it? No,
well
not really.
that's yeah, because there's more characters than Anakin.
What
There's Padme.
what if it was just Anakin? It wouldn't be enough to do that story justice, would it? If instead of we didn't care
Well,
about
that's
Padme,
why the
we didn't
movies
care
aren't
about
just
Obi-Wan.
about Anakin. They're about all these other things that are going on.
I think that
That's
even
why.
a character story like this should have been longer. I think Barris
Why
has
the character is there through the whole story. It doesn't make any like there seems to. Why would they need to add more time for these characters? The entire episode is about the character.
because
It's
for
a
the dramatic
focus.
weight of her turning back to the light side, to have dramatic weight, she has to have been on the dark side for a total of more than like 15 minutes of screen time because we only ever get to see her in 2 scenes where she's evil, right? The rest of the time she's like hiding, right? Like she's a suspect and we don't know that she's the one who did it. But like in, you know, she has the lightsaber duel with Anakin, or like the interrogation then lightsaber duel with Anakin, and then the scene where he brings her to the courtroom and she's like, "Fuck yeah, I did it. Fuck the Jedi. Fuck the Republic. Fuck war. Coney 2012," because this was in 2012. And then and that was it. And then we had the first episode with her being a bad, an evil character, and then we got none of that in episode 2. And for dramatic way, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but even the fucking Battlefront 2 2017 campaign did a face turn better than fucking Tales of the Empire, because Iden Versio gets to do some evil shit beforehand. Like we get to feel the weight of like, oh, she's dangerous. Oh, she's done some evil shit, but she's willing to turn her back on the Empire and really like do and like actually do, like the good work to like redeem herself, right? Because we at first, she goes through and kills a whole bunch of people on that cruiser, and then she goes to Endor and kills a bunch of people, and then she goes to Fondor and kills a bunch of people, and then she comes back around in the there's a mission in between about her boyfriend, but after that, like, then she comes back around, and then that's like, and there's more weight to it. But even that one wasn't done very well, but it was still done better than Barris, because Barris hasn't had enough time being evil for her turning back good to mean something. Darth Vader turning back good. He has had 3 whole movies of being an asshole for it to actually mean something when he comes back.
Well, Barris isn't that like there isn't like there's just enough to explore of her character to fit in those shorts. Like it's like Count Dooku.
I disagree.
It's like
I
Count
think-
Dooku. It's such a
I really like Barris's
She's only
Uh,
in like 3 episodes in the entire cartoon series, maybe 4. And like
Weapons Factory, the one with the
Brain
zombies,
Invaders.
Brain Invaders, good episode, great episode. Slept on. I slept on it growing up. I don't know if we talked about it in our retrospective a bit, but yeah, slept on. And then the bomb ones. She makes a cameo appearance in the opening part of Umbara. She's in the space fight in Umbara with Ahsoka. And that's the extent of their assistance in the Battle of Umbara. But yeah, like we get a little bit of her there, and then yeah. But counterpoint, her ideology and her reasoning behind it, I think, may be a little bit more interesting than Vader's political motivations, because Vader's political motivations are, well, if the people don't agree, then there should be a guy that makes them agree, and that's it. But with Barriss, she's like, she has legitimate criticisms about how, the Jedi are being taken advantage of in the war. Have I ever shown you, or have you ever seen that image of like, it's the Jedi and the Republic trying to lift a couch, and the Republic starts being lazy, and the Jedi are the ones lifting the couch, and then eventually the Jedi drop the couch, and then the Republic gets mad at them and kills them? Yeah, that's and that she raises a good point about that, about how Jedi weren't supposed to be generals. They're not supposed to be out there fighting in this war and like doing this on behalf of the Republic. Like the Republic should be fighting and the Jedi should be peacekeepers. It goes against their edict to fight this war, right? According to her, I think she is wrong, but I think that's sort of like what you were saying in the beginning. That you can disagree with someone and still think A, it's a good performance, and B, that they make good points, right? Like it's a bad point but well made, and I sort of see where she's coming from, and she much like Darth Maul has a glimpse of the picture and sees that the Jedi are being manipulated and the Republic's being manipulated, but she doesn't know who's doing it, and she's staring in the face of the guy who's doing it, but she can't see it, and there's a certain tragedy to that. And I think they also did absolutely nothing with her and Vader. Vader doesn't say a fucking word. That's stupid. This the very reason that Ahsoka wasn't with Anakin to keep him from turning to the dark side is staring him in the fucking face, and he says nothing. And I think that's dumb. And also, little gripe, they should have just made her be the seventh sister. Should have just made her be the seventh sister. The fact that they find another Miri Allen Jedi who looks just like her but doesn't have the accent. Come on. Let's be real here.
I think it's entirely possible.
The same shade, basically the same tattoos. I don't know. Yeah. It was cool to see Marok, though. Marok was cool. Love me some Marok. Wish we got more of his backstory. Again, Dave Filoni sets up shit, sets up cool fucking mysterious villains, and gives us nothing. Dick all. And I hate it. I don't know what his obsession is with this, because it makes no sense. But fucking whatever. And then we got to see the one bird Inquisitor that Ahsoka kills in like the exact same way that she kills the fucking other Inquisitor, because Dave Filoni hates other people's work for some fucking reason. But I don't know. Barriss doesn't get enough time on the dark side for her turning back to the light to have enough resonance. But I really like that final episode when she's like reaching out to Fourth Sister, and she's like, let me help you. You're lost. You're struggling. There is a way out. And like when she like actually shows up and she's like, I'm here, and she like generally is there. I really like that. And I like how it ended, and it ended like ambiguously, and I'd like to see them continue that story. But I don't know. I feel like Barriss has more depth to her than um than she got in in these episodes, and I feel like that was sort of, sad, because I feel like they could have done more. They could have done a whole mini series about her, and it would have, felt a little bit better. They could have done 6 whole episodes about her instead of just the 3.
Well, 3 was pretty efficient and effective at what it told for a story about her.
I think
There was quite a
Morgan,
lot that happened.
it was a lot that happened, but in too little of a time. We didn't have enough time to get attached.
I mean, we
to,
got this moment where like the Inquisitor is training
Mhm,
with her. I
mhm.
thought that was really well done.
That one was more. There should have been more shit like that,
I
where
thought
she taps into her
the
dark side.
the fight was actually like very tense
Mm-hmm.
in that episode as well.
Mm-hmm. I like that one.
I honestly thought that the show was over after watching one episode. I was like, or after watching the second episode, I was like, oh, that's quite an ending. And then I realized that there was a whole other episode more, and I was like, oh, this is great. Like the story isn't over yet.
You know what? There's another missed opportunity that I forgot.
Wow, I'm so glad that reminds you of a missed opportunity, something that
They've
happened in the show.
they've added some random fucking Jedi. I used to be like, oh no, there's not too many fucking Jedi who escaped Order 66. There is. There's so fucking many now. It's too much. Do you know what the missed opportunity was? You know who that Jedi should have fucking been?
But are you going to say that all of them could fight Darth Vader? I think that's kind of an extreme claim.
I never said that.
Okay. But like that's kind of, I don't know. I feel like it's not so bad if you have all these Jedi survive and none of them can fight Darth Vader, cuz then it's excusable. Like okay, they were around, but no way were they the ones ready to take on like the people at the top.
No, it just makes the initial Order 66 part of the Jedi Purge seem like it wasn't that effective. If Jocasta knew those 4 Jedi from Star Wars Uprising, I don't know why those were the next ones I thought. Um,
If only Jocasta knew, then
ha 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 ha.
maybe
Yeah.
not. Yes.
Yeah, but Yoda, Obi-Wan, Kanan, Cal, Seer. Yeah, that's who it should have been, by the way. Seer. I thought that would have been interesting, because they said they're hiding in the mountains. It should have been Seer and Trilla and the younglings they had, and it would have been how they captured Seer and brought her to the Inquisitors, and how they captured Second Sister as well, Trilla. I think that would have been really interesting.
Well, maybe next time you could own Star Wars and control
should.
Star Wars.
I do a better fucking job than Dave Filoni. I can sure as shit tell you that. Dave, you're a great animation supervisor. You're not good at writing. You leave all these plot threads fucked up. I think he lost all his sauce. He had a certain amount of sauce for Atla, and he had a certain amount of sauce for Clone Wars, and he is now out of sauce. Somebody needs to take him to the grocery store so he can get more sauce, because he's out. He's out of sauce. But let's get to the part. Oh, how do you feel about Morgan? I felt Morgan was kind of whatever.
I mean, we don't really have a lot of our character outside of Ahsoka in one episode of The Mandalorian.
Yep.
So for adding something, it was
It makes her appearance make more sense. That like her appearance changes because the spells and the Night Sisters are gone. Makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, so just yeah. So that happened, and I was okay with it. It's whatever. It's okay. But my My favorite arc in the Tales series is still Dooku, by far. By fucking far. That final episode with Yaddle and like the grieving was so good. So fucking good. But yeah, I would say
A lot of cool characters that showed up. I mean, you're a fan of Legends. Did you like?
Pelion. Yep.
Did you like Rook?
Loved. Yep, Rook. He was in Rebels as well. Isn't he the one who got the final kill on Thrawn in the final book of the Thrawn trilogy?
I don't know if it was him exactly, but it might have been.
It was one of the Nogri. Spoilers for that series, which isn't canon anymore, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I think that's interesting. And Morgan's, yeah, I don't know. I think for me it goes Dooku's arc, Barris's arc, Morgan's arc, Ahsoka's arc. I hate retcons. That's Ahsoka will always be pissing me off because it's the fucking retcons. But yeah. Anywho, let's get into the real debate. Let's get into it. Are you ready? Are you ready to defend the worst character in the saga? And by
Sure.
worst, I don't mean like worst written. I mean worst as in like morally.
You want to go off?
I'm going to destroy her.
All right.
So, Padme. Episode 1. 14 years old. She's the queen. Blah, 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 blah. Does her shit. Yeah, she's back. She doesn't really do anything too bad in that movie other than flirting with a 9-year-old at 14, because I was being babysat by a 14-year-old at 9 years old. So that's kind of weird. And then episode 2 is where the problems start arising. And there is some bad character writing here, I will admit. So, numero uno is she comes in and lands, obviously her body doubles on the star skiff, and she's in the fighter. Comes out, hops out. Captain Typho has the worst comedic timing in the world, and he says, "Oh, I guess there was no danger at all," right before it blows up, of course, for dramatic irony.
Yeah. Dang it,
And
Typho.
then, that dumb son of a bitch. And then, obviously, fucking body double dies, right? Along with the whole crew. Everyone other than fucking R2, Typho, and Typho's astromech droid, and Padme, of course, dead. Straight up. And who is the first person she suspects? So I'll remind you, she's here to stop the Republic creating a military. She doesn't want the Republic to create a military. Who is the first person she suspects? The person who should most be on her side. Why is she suspecting Count Dooku when from her perspective, they both want the same thing? It makes no fucking sense. No goddamn sense at all. Right? But that's just George being George. None of the writing in the prequels makes any fucking sense. If it does, it's by accident. I'm over that. But that's dumb. It's only until we get into Clone Wars where we really get into the bad shit. So, recap of the end of Attack of the Clones, right? She's banging Anakin. They're married. But homie got his whole ass left arm at the elbow. Oh, was it his right arm? It's his right arm. Sorry. I always watch it like reflected for like copyright reasons because I've seen it on YouTube. But it's his whole ass right arm chopped off at the elbow by Count Dooku, who Anakin knows and Obi-Wan knows and Padme would also know is a Sith Lord who also tried to have her killed like 100 different times. But what does she do when she gets back to the Senate? What does she do? Maxwell, can you tell me? What's her main goal?
To go to Naboo. Well, no, not to go to the Naboo. She wants to speak
She
to the
wants to
Senate.
stop the war. She wants to,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
yeah.
She wants to stop war.
No, I'm talking about the I'm talking about after they get married. I'm talking about after they get married.
Okay, but what about before? Because like that is what she wants to do before.
I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. Like if you want to let them peacefully secede, you're stupid, but go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead. But when the war is already on, the guy on the other side tried to kill you, almost killed your husband multiple times. Tried to kill you multiple times. Also, from what you know, could have been behind the invasion on your home planet 10 years ago. He's working with the people who are behind your invasion 10 years ago. Apparently like thousands of people were like starving to death during that, but she's perfectly willing to just, let bygones be bygones if it fucking stops the war, right? She's perfectly willing to just be like, oh, Count Dooku can get away with it scot-free. He can go on and be a Sith Lord scot-fucking-free. Newt Gunray can be an evil son of a bitch scot-fucking-free if it means that, the fucking clones and battle droids stop dying, right? I hate to say that, like, the clones are, like, objects, right?
Whoa. That is, you should hate saying that.
Like, I hate to be like,
You should hate saying it.
But A, they are only going to live half as long as a normal human, and B,
Wow, so that makes them less human because they live less long.
they have been
Do you hear how you
brainwashed
sound?
into wanting to fight the war. Like they want to fight the war. Like they have been literally, I mean, it is brainwashing. Don't get me fucking wrong. They absolutely have been brainwashed into it, but they want to fight the war. So no civilians, well, I mean, some civilians, but like civilians aren't really dying all that much. It's mostly just, and if they are, it's usually the separatists killing them.
What?
But she wants the separatists to get away with it scot-free. She wants to end the war peacefully. And that means that General Grievous, Ventress, Dooku, Newt Gunray, Wat Tambor, every single war criminal on the separatist side gets to go free scot-free. Because they're never going to get turned over to the Republic. That's never going to happen. They're never going to face justice for their crimes. Count Dooku is an elected leader in the Separatist Senate. He's never getting turned over. So
now we're not hating on.
No, I'm hating on Padme because this is what she wants. She would rather let Count Dooku go free and take over like a third, half the galaxy, most of the entire Outer Rim, and some of the Mid Rim, some of the core. Right? She would rather he take over the entire, like, half of the galaxy scot-free and be a Sith Lord with all that entails. Because she knows what the Sith are.
Why do you have the impression that that's what she wants?
She keeps trying to stop the military creation effort at any point. She's like, oh, no more clones. Yeah, we have about... we have about 1 million clones against like 30 billion battle droids. What could go wrong?
Yeah, but it's war. You understand? Like
she doesn't
no
want
side
peace,
of it.
She wants to lose.
No side of it is like winning in war by being at war.
But the separatists would be worse off if Count Dooku took power, and she knows that. Because Count Dooku is a Sith Lord, and she knows that too. She also knows that they have Grievous, and Grievous is a fucking war criminal. I will say the one moral action.
Okay. Go ahead.
When at this point in the war, right? This is like World War II, right? At this point in the war, you cannot get a peaceful resolution to this war until their leadership is gone, until all the like big war criminal generals are dead. Lockdurd, Poggle the Lesser, Dooku, Grievous, Ventress, all of them have been captured or killed, and like put on either captured and put on trial and executed, or killed in the war. Because if you,
You have
don't,
an interesting sense of justice for the Star Wars galaxy.
Count Dooku uses slavery. She doesn't know that until later on, because he doesn't do that until what, like 20 BBY is so like in the second half of the war. But like even in the first half of the war, you know, she's had 10 years of dealing with the fucking Trade Federation. And the Trade Federation is working with a fucking Sith Lord. She knew they were working with a Sith Lord the first time because she fucking saw him. She got to see the fucking Sith Lord that killed Qui-Gon Jinn with her own eyes. And, you know, think back to Attack of the Clones, right? You know, she gets captured and put in this arena. And in order to come and rescue her, 200 and... I'm trying to remember if it's 212 Jedi, including Anakin and Obi-Wan, or 212 Jedi and then Anakin and Obi-Wan. So 214 total. You know, are there risking their lives for her to save her. You know, all of them but 30 die. So 192 Jedi fucking dead to save her, to rescue her, right? And what does she do for the remaining 30? She immediately hampers their military ability by trying to deny them reinforcements and resources in the Senate. Immediately. The one moral thing she does in all of Clone Wars, the one thing that is moral. That
Yeah,
she does
because
in
you
Clone
don't
Wars.
think anything else she does is moral. That's why.
No. The one moral thing she does in the war, I think I've talked about it before, is when she gets captured by the Malevolence, which is in the middle of attacking a fucking hospital. She says, okay, Grievous is on board. Fucking do not stop shooting at this thing. Blow it up with me in it. Kill Grievous. Potentially end the war. But like, you know, make sure you use this opportunity to destroy the ship, and B, kill General Grievous, right? That takes balls. She's like, yep, I will 100% sacrifice myself to make this happen. Don't let him use me as a hostage. Destroy this ship, right? That takes balls. I have respect for her for that. But she doesn't have that same conviction to end the war by killing Grievous and killing Dooku and killing Ventress, you know? Because, again,
she doesn't feel that way about killing everyone. Oh no.
what has Ventress done up to this point in the war when she's like suing for peace in season 2, right? What has she done? We'll get to that actually. I was gonna talk about the blue shadow virus because that's technically a Ventress thing. We'll get to that. But you know, what did Grievous, Ventress, Dooku, what were they getting up to? By this point in the war, Grievous had killed like dozens of Jedi, including young Padawans, right? Just teenagers, killed them, took their lightsabers, took their Padawan braids as trophies. You know, he don't care. Ventress had killed Jedi Master Thulm, at least by then. Also killed a bunch of clones. Helped break Nuke Gunray out of jail by that point. All sorts of things. And Dooku, maimed her husband, tried to kill her husband, tried to kill her. She's a bad spouse, really. That's my main issue with her, is from the point that she became maritally involved with a general in the GAR and became a personal target of Count Dooku and Nuke Gunray multiple times, she should have been like, okay, peace can't happen until these fuckers are dead. Because it's the same way with like Hitler and the Emperor of Japan, right? Germany wasn't going to surrender until Hitler fucking died, right? And it's like it or not, you can want him to stand a fair trial or whatever the fuck you want, but like at the end of the day, the trial's going to find him guilty of war crimes anyway. It's just going to be cleaner and easier if, he just gets taken out in battle, So, and I mean, the Jedi literally sent like Obi-Wan and Anakin to basically go and capture and kill him in the one episode right before they do the pirates thing. Like their plan is to either capture or just straight up kill Grievous. They're gonna fucking double team him and kill him. You know, like that's and that's moral, right? Like, wouldn't you rather they send like a Jedi assassin team to just like SEAL Team 6 his head ass
I thought
instead of
I thought
doing a big battle where millions of people die?
I thought the whole killing thing was like, like a question. Like, is this like that is it is a moral question. And
I
kind of like Anakin deals with that
and
in the
Anakin's
movie.
right. Anakin is absolutely right. They can't
You
take
think he's right. You think
They-
so does Palpatine, Just remember that like you're agreeing with Palpatine when you decide that this is the right thing to do.
they couldn't take him captured, right? Like
But you're agreeing okay.
I agree with Palpatine
You
that
do.
The intergalactic banking clan was too corrupt and it should have been brought under federal control. Does that mean I'm a monster? No. I agree with Palpatine that Chancellor Valorum was pretty weak and should have been replaced. Does that make me a villain? No. Palpatine has positions.
Yeah, but you
for
should think
different
about
reasons.
you should think about what your opinions are about it and like why you agree so much with this person who also does all these other things or does it with the motivation of accomplishing certain things.
If they couldn't have brought Count Dooku with them. They couldn't have. They had he had no hands, so they couldn't put handcuffs on him. Because like what?
Oh, because he has no hands and he can't put handcuffs on, you think it's acceptable to kill him?
If you can't take him with you and it ends the war, what's one Sith Lord, again, remember, Sith Lord war criminal's life to save thousands of clones and thousands of civilians? Like imagine how many more civilians would have died if Dooku had escaped that battle. And kept the war going another 3 months, right? About like 1 billion civilians would have died. But since Anakin chopped his head off.
Is that the story of Revenge of the Sith? It's about how like Anakin saved the lives of all these people by killing Count Dooku in the movie.
From his perspective, yes. From his perspective, yes.
I know, but like it's important to detach our perspective from the events that actually happen.
I'm only arguing from like pure Doyle, from pure Watsonian angle.
Okay,
I'm not talking
well
about
we should share like a similar level to like what we're talking about, and I'm thinking we should ground it in like what actually happens.
But I'm arguing based on who she is as a character morally. I'm not arguing about like the outcomes of her actions. I'm arguing about like the motivations and the intentions behind her actions, no matter how they actually play out, because she doesn't know how everything's going to play out because she doesn't know the Palpatine's a Sith Lord. And I think from her perspective, a lot of the actions she does are detrimental to the like safety of her husband and beneficial to the war criminals of the CIS. Like she's basically aiding them.
I don't really agree with that take. I don't really think that like, I mean, you could argue that in the sense that Palpatine is in charge of everything, but I feel like the things that she does all seek to benefit the people that she's trying to help.
Who is she trying to help?
Well, I think the Mandalore arc is a good example.
If the Republic can't make any more clones because she said
that was not the example I brought up, but if you want to talk about that, we can.
That's the main thing. So in all the arcs,
so I mean, just for the context, it's a decision about creating a bill to finance, I don't know if it is $1 billion, but it's like so many
A few
more.
million more. I think it's
Yeah,
like
more
5 to
clones
10
to
million more.
fight in the war.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a question about is this getting us any closer to stopping the war?
Yes. At the if you do want to argue outside of that perspective, yes, it does get them closer because she
Yeah,
fails.
but that, like, that's your belief. It's
No,
not.
it's true. They
No,
go
it's your belief. Don't like mistake your belief with the truth.
No, the Sepias are on the back foot when they
Yeah,
do the
but like
Battle of Coruscant.
I don't know why you're equating more soldiers to like ending a war faster. It just creates more war faster.
Not
Not
true.
just creates it, but like that's what it does.
So she is pro Republic. She wants the Republic to win ideally, right? But she would rather do peace, but if somebody's going to win, she says that she wants the Republic to win. She's not neutral like Mandalore is. Her Naboo is pro Republic. And
Okay.
the Sepries are not slowing down droid production. Every droid for them is like a couple thousand credits, right? A vulture droid is like 55,000, which is yeah, it's like the cost of just a TIE fighter with the brain and pilot already installed. It's so cheap to make like your average droid starfighter, and like the battle droid costs like what, like I think it's like 10,000 credits each, but like just the armor of the clone costs 10,000, plus you have to feed them for 10 years, plus you have to arm them, plus you have to like train them, right? It's so expensive. But the CIS is never slowing down droid production. They're speeding it up. So they're
Listen,
ramping out more droids over and over.
why do you talk about Star Wars like it's like a real world terror organization that is
Because it is.
constantly.
I'm trying to analyze this from the perspective of what it would be like to live in that universe and have it realistically apply to logic and like logistics and war. Because this is interesting to me. I think when Star Wars is like, think about it with Andor, for example, right? Andor is like the most realistic Star Wars has ever been, and it was some of the best, right? Like you admitted that Andor is like your one of your favorite Star Wars projects, bar none.
Yeah, I have a lot of reasons for that.
And one of the big reasons behind that is how realistic it is and how it like takes a look at like the logistics of rebellion and
Well,
like the
I don't
logistics of war.
I don't know if it's just the realism. It's more about like the messages that are um or like not the messages, but like what's being presented in the show and like how we have to think about it and how you know how the show starts with someone kind of being coerced into um turning like having to use violence to protect themselves
Mm-hmm.
um from
Against
figures of
like
authority
yes, yeah, I was
and
about to say that. Yeah.
having to uh you know think about, oh, can I avoid this? Can I live my life without having this like make my life worse?
Mm-hmm.
And like the argument about Andor is that you can't avoid it. That like
Mm-hmm.
it'll come for you and you have to deal with it unless you um
Go
take
out
it
to
on
meet it
your own
first.
initiative
Mm-hmm.
to act and change, to act out for change. Um
Yes.
you will be controlled.
Yeah. So here,
Your
I
freedom will not be your own.
I guess um my criticism from like a writing perspective is, these are kid shows trying to do like the politics of the prequels, but like dumb it down so that like kids can sort of understand like where Padme's coming from. But in doing that, they have to give like they can't really get in too much into the nuance because I'm sure there's like the people at Cartoon Network are kind of like, okay, this is kind of, you know, high concept. This is still season 2 and season 3, right? They're not quite getting to like the Umbara arc or the Jedi bombing arc, you know, like they're not quite getting to the point where they really like get mature and really like get into more of the nuanced. So it doesn't have a lot of nuance, and like Padme is, you know, they have to give her the sympathetic arc, and you know, more war for a kid would be, you know, bad, right? Like, you know, peace good, war bad, right? And like, you know, people, you know, Halle Bertoni literally named a fucking character after Halliburton, right? Because this is George Lucas and fucking Dave Filoni we're talking about. They do not get subtlety, right? But I think there's nuances to, hey, maybe fighting a war against evil is good, and some suffering on behalf of, you know, willing soldiers is good to prevent the suffering of people who didn't
I
sign
don't know
up for
why
the
you
war.
say willing. Like, we don't know that the clones are born into fighting in a war.
I mean, they're not. They consent to it,
No.
but they don't consent to it.
No, I don't think it's even like fair to say that, like, in any way.
They're brainwashed into wanting it, but they do want it.
No, that's like entirely not the point of the show. Like, Rex talks about it in the finale. They're like, you know, we have mixed feelings about the war because we know that without it, we wouldn't exist.
Yes,
Those are
but
verbatim his words.
Yes.
So
I'm talking about what he says to Cut in season 2.
Okay, but like, I think, you know, that's him way before. Like, the point of that episode is to show Rex changing and growing as a character.
I'm
so
talking about like
he
even
goes
when
into
he
that.
leaves.
He goes into that with those beliefs, and he's like, when you're born into the war, you're a soldier. And then, you know, Cut asks him, well, have you ever thought about choice in your life in fighting?
And then when
in
he
this war?
leaves and he chooses, and every single clone chooses.
No, they
Other
don't.
than Slick and Cut.
No, they don't. They choose to do something else. Usually, we just had a whole show about like clones doing that and making that choice.
But they believe their fight was like just. When it's not just anymore, and they're against the authority, and they know they can't beat it, you know. And plus, they're getting old. You know, they're not spring chickens anymore. You know, they would be getting towards the end of their. They'd be approaching their 30s biologically. And, you know, that's around the time when you're no longer in the infantry anymore. You know, you join when you're 18 and you're in the infantry for a while. And then, you know, they've been in the infantry for, biologically speaking, about 10 years for them. So, like, that's a lot of their life. And so they can, you know, they chose not to be soldiers. But during the war, you know, Captain Rex says, you know, my brothers are out there. They're fighting. They're dying, you know, and they're choosing to fight for the Republic. So will I. You know, maybe even if it's not about the Republic, even if I don't believe that the Republic is good, which he does at that point, you know, even if it's not even about that, even if I don't even care about the motivations about why we're fighting, I'm still out there. I'm protecting my guys. I'm protecting my brothers, right? You know, Cut has his family, Rex has his. So, but even not talking about that, soldiers fight so that civilians don't have to. Because civilians never asked for the war.
But every
soldiers do either.
civilian is like, you know, agreed to by like legal, by law, to like take up arms for the country if asked or if required to.
They're not. That's why they had to create
No,
a
they
military
are.
creation act.
They are. It's in. I mean, it's for like most of the military, I think.
But in the Republic, before they had the clones, before they knew about the clones, the Republic didn't have they didn't even have a military. They had the judicial forces, right? Which were like, you know, again, they were peacekeepers, right? They're like UN peacekeepers. UN peacekeepers, you know, they carry guns, they have vehicles, right? But they're not a fighting force. the Military Creation Act would have created like the vehicles, the weapons, and all that, but it also would have created like actual military ranks and like actual military structure, right? And it would have conscripted people. And I think that's a big part of why Padme didn't like it, was like the conscription part. But at the same time, you got to think about like at the end of the day, more soldiers, if the enemy is making more soldiers and they're encroaching more in your territory, and battle droids have no problem committing war crimes, and they do, they genocided the Night Sisters. I mean, the Republic doesn't know about that super well, but you know.
Whoa, you really like to throw words around like they don't have like a very
They
serious
did.
meaning.
They did. They genocided the Night Sisters. All of them. Every single one of like the what is it? The Singing Mountain clan, which was Ventress and Talzin's. Every single one. Even though Talzin escaped and Ventress escaped, later on they both died. Grievous killed Talzin later.
I mean, yeah, I get that you're saying that, but like I feel like you don't really understand the full like world implications of that.
I'm saying that if Padme knows the type of shit that the Separatists are getting up to and will get up to if Dooku and Grievous and all of them stay in power, and she doesn't try to fight them before ending the war, then that's like what are you even ending the war for? Because if you leave a Sith Lord in charge of half of the galaxy and you know that, like what are you even doing?
Why would she know that?
Because she's married to fucking Anakin, and I'm sure they talk about fucking work and they talk about that day. And so he would be like, oh yeah, Count Dooku used this ability that only Sith Lords can use. Like only a master of the dark side can use it. Not even Darth Maul was able to use it. And they know he was a Sith Lord. So Count Dooku being able to use Force Lightning and using it on both Anakin and Obi-Wan is fucking proof positive. They thought he was the Sith Master for all of the war, right? Until I forget who it was that made them know about Sidious, right? I forget what the canon explanation is. In Legends, they captured some guy, some like dark Jedi, and he revealed it. But like for most of the war, they thought Dooku was the Sith Lord, and so I
don't think they did. I think they knew that there were two people who were Sith, and they knew that since the first movie.
Yeah, they knew that two people were Sith. I think they. I'm pretty sure they thought Ventress was the apprentice. Like they thought that until they realized that Dooku was like, you know, hanging out with his wang out and like being a total douche nozzle to everybody. They didn't realize that he was a Sith, but once they did, they realized they thought that he was the Sith Lord, because who else could it have been? Wouldn't you know, Dooku just be lying to Obi-Wan? Like that would make sense. That would be the part that made sense, but you know, he actually wasn't lying. But you know, for most of the war, they assumed that he was the Sith Lord. So if Anakin and Obi-Wan knew that he was at least a Sith, you know, since both the Master and Apprentice are both Sith Lords, like they know that he is a Sith from using Force Lightning. So she would know based on that, and like, you know, doesn't even matter if he's a Sith. He fucking maimed her husband. If I had a wife who I got my arm cut off by a guy, and I led a war to try and bring that guy to justice for all the Jedi he killed protecting us, and all she's trying to do is like cut off my reinforcements and like have me having to fight increasing number of droids with decreasing numbers of clones, like what am I gonna do? How am I gonna like do that? She's actively trying to hamper it. And here's the kicker that I'm getting back to. As soon as Naboo is in danger, as soon as the battle droids are on Naboo and the blue shadow virus is on Naboo, She is totally fine with the Republic coming in and wrecking shit and bringing their whole fucking army in there. She's totally fine with that. She's down to clown when it's her planet that's in danger, when it's her that's in danger. But when all
I feel
these,
like she's had that attitude for every planet she's went to.
except for all, but when she doesn't go to a planet, she's always like, you guys don't actually need more clones to protect, Kashyyyk or Felucia or Ryloth. You guys don't actually need more clones. Just do the best with what you have. And as they keep dying and dying and dying, we're not going to replace them with more clones. So
I don't really
these-
I don't know when she does that.
every time she keeps trying to cut off the military creation, and has
No, those things are not connected. I don't know why you draw a line.
If they can't breed more clones to replace the ones that die, then it's a limited resource when
But
the Separatists have
but
infinite.
The Ryloth weren't suffering from a lack of troopers even
Yes,
in
they
the
were.
story. No, they needed supplies.
They got run out of there because their fleet got destroyed.
They were starved on supplies and food and water and probably anything other for their emergency needs. And so like the stuff about Ryloth in later episodes was about getting that kind of aid to Ryloth. Obviously they had a fight, a battle to remove their occupation of the planet.
If they had had more clones and ships, they wouldn't have lost the space battle and would have been able to get those supplies down to
They
the
won the
planet below.
space battle.
No,
What do you
they
mean?
The reason why they were cut off, the reason why they had to use blockade runners is because the Separatists were able to build a blockade because Captain Keeley's admiral died. You got to rewatch Supply Lines. It's a good episode anyway, so it's not that bad.
I think Supply Lines was about supplies and not soldiers.
If they had had more soldiers in space, they
I
wouldn't
feel like
have needed
I
more
feel like
supplies on the ground.
we're just gonna go in circles if you don't see the things in the way that I do, and I don't really want to keep talking about it.
But like that's like the biggest problem is because they did lose the space battle. That happened. You got to rewatch it because that happened. They like the guy.
I know they lose it in the beginning, and then they need, but like I don't. I'm sorry.
They never
I'm
would have
too
lost.
close to the mic. I'm just saying that like the that they I get it. They lost the blockade in that episode, but
Mhm.
the whole thing that they were fighting for was supplies, and so there's nothing to do with adding more soldiers that will affect the entirety of having supplies like food and those sorts of resources being moved from wherever they're coming from to Ryloth, to that planet that needs them.
Well, if
Do you understand that?
If you look in like the contents of like military aid bills, like the shit that we're sending to Ukraine, for example, right? We aren't just sending, here's some fucking artillery shells, here's some M1 Abrams, here's some F-16s, go nuts. Because we're also sending them, food, logistics vehicles, infrastructure type shit, right? We're not just sending them weapons and shit. A military aid bill, a military like those military budget increases aren't just making the weapons and more soldiers. We're also creating like those Pelta class frigates that they used in the end to run the blockade to get the supplies to them. It's also creating more of those because those Pelta class frigates are military frigates. So the military creation bills would be creating more of those and more Venators and more Calamitors and more LAATs and more clone troopers.
But I don't see how any of those things would have anything to do with getting the food and supplies to the people of Ryloth. In fact, they did
more
it.
Ships to
In
break
fact,
the blockade.
the big success of that episode and the like victory, like so much is lost in that one episode.
Mm-hmm.
But the win is getting those supplies to the people.
So that they can fight on until they can come back with the reinforcements.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which
so
is true, and this is very early on in the war.
Okay.
This is
So
one of the earliest episodes chronologically.
yeah,
But what I'm saying
I'm
is
just trying to say that like all those tanks, all those things you listed off had nothing to do with the um the factors that led to the success in that. Like, what was there helped everything do that. But, that's not it has nothing to do with getting more soldiers into the war and
I'm
getting
saying
more people with like
it's kind of a bad example because it's so early on in the war, but I meant more along the lines of like other planets like that. If the Republic had more resources and more troopers, they could have spread out their forces a little bit more, and that way, fleets like the ones protecting Ryloth wouldn't have gotten destroyed in the first place and put them into that refugee crisis and stranded Master Dai and Captain Keeley and his battalion on the ground. Like they would have been able to uh, protect Ryloth for longer and maybe got the reinforcements there to like prevent that from happening instead of losing that fleet and then waiting several months for the separatists to like dig in, because then they've set up a blockade. They've got Lucre Hulks, they've got munificent frigates, they've got all those because the Republic wasn't able to get the reinforcements in time. I'm saying if Padme hadn't held up some of these Republic creation bills, they would have spent more money and made more ships and more clones so that way they could project more force around the galaxy rather than having to focus a few of their ships into key strategic moments, because the separatists always outgunned and outnumbered the clones, right? Like the clones never
no, they didn't. How else would Grievous have like been defeated by Obi-Wan if there wasn't a shift in like the number of like soldiers on each side?
Once like season 4 starts, Padme sort of stops trying to get like that peaceful resolution around season 4, because then they start getting into the really bad war crimes, and that's what I like. But I'm saying like even earlier on,
Okay.
there's some pretty bad shit that the separatists are doing where she should be like, maybe we should take care of a few of these generals and figures first and then sue for peace, because if we leave them in the separatist infrastructure, this is just going to happen again. It's like World War II, right? If Hitler and Himmler and Goebbels and all those assholes, if we didn't take them out before letting Germany do its own thing, we were just going to get more Nazis, Like if we beat them once, we would just have to beat them again. We had to have a Nuremberg thing, or we had to have them killed in battles, or in Hitler's case, in his own bunker with a 32 ACP through his own head, like if we hadn't done that, we would have just had World War III. So it's better sometimes, and this is part of the nuance that I don't like in Clone Wars, is you lose a little bit of nuance in the earlier seasons politically when there are righteous wars against evil, the Civil War, right? Fighting against slavery and like intolerance and like people being held in bondage, right? And the separatists use slaves. And that's fucked up. And that's why Padme stops trying to like sue for peace, because around season 4 and season 5, that's when that shit starts happening. And it starts to get like more indefensible.
That's a interesting read on Star Wars. I don't think that's really what happens in those seasons.
I don't
think it just goes to slavery and then this changes the war. The war is still what it is, and
no, but it sort of they stop focusing on Padme doing that because it would be more indefensible, because we're seeing the fucked up shit that the separatists are doing, and it becomes less and less like politically feasible to be like, hey, let's sue for peace when they're doing this kind of shit, right? Like, would you sue for peace against the Nazis if you knew they were doing the concentration camps? No, you wouldn't. Would you? You would go until you beat them and you completely controlled their territory and you said, we're going to build this back our way and we're going to supervise it. And that's what we did. We are still occupying Germany. We still have a big Air Force base there. Just in case Germany starts to get froggy again, we can turn Berlin into glass, nuclear or otherwise, just in case they old habits start to happen again 100 years later, So, but like you get what I mean, right? You sometimes you can't make peace. You can't make that omelet until you break a few eggs. You know what I mean?
I don't see it that way, so I'm sorry.
I think it's just because in Star Wars the villains have
I see
to
that
be.
I see that they already have all these clones.
That's true, and they are like breeding, like more and more of them are coming of age as well. Like the clones that Boba Fett's hanging out with in season 2. By the time the Battle of Coruscant's happening, I think they're about ready to go. Like they're ready to be deployed. If they're being deployed at 9 years old, and they're something like biologically speaking about 13, they're about ready to go in the Battle of Coruscant, and that's fucked up. 100% that's fucked up, and I get Padme's understanding behind that, that's true. But who would you rather it be fighting? I know it's a fucked up question to ask, but if you were in a galactic war against someone who is literally just evil, like the Sith, the dark side are no questions about it, just straight up bad guys. Right?
I like how you say that Star Wars hasn't taught us that people can be redeemed. Even the most evil people.
Count Dooku didn't get redeemed. Grievous didn't get redeemed.
Darth Vader.
Who do you think was worse morally?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Grievous
I'm
or
sorry
Vader?
that was a poor example for you.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you really don't know. But it would,
Grievous is just a
if you
straight up
did know,
ethnic
it would make a
cleanser.
lot of sense to you, maybe. I'm just
Grievous is
saying.
just a straight up ethnic cleanser, though. Like his whole motivation is he literally says in Grievous Intrigue, murder. Is it murder to rid the galaxy of you filth? And that's how do you redeem that? How? Because in real life, you can't redeem people. I think the whole point of Star Wars is that Vader can be redeemed because there's a miracle of that. Like the miracle that Luke and Leia were born before Padme dies. The miracle that they're reunited. The miracle that Luke is able to get through to Vader. And all these things happen all at once. The redemption of Darth Vader isn't.
I don't think it's a
supposed to be-
miracle. I mean, I guess if you just want to chalk it up to that, but I feel like there's a lot more being said by the people and being done by the people, that it doesn't just come to happen by a miracle.
I think there's a lot of hard work and effort there, but
I think we know everything that happens that gets us to that point.
Yeah, but I think that all of those events happening in that order. I mean, Star Wars literally says it's divine intervention. The Force wills the galaxy to it knits the yarns of fate into a thread that is supposed to happen that way. So all those events happening is literally divine intervention. So basically everything that happens in the galaxy is a fucking miracle technically. But that happening is it's supposed to be special because no one thinks Darth Vader could be redeemed because no one else that evil can be. Grievous never gets redeemed because he just decides to keep being evil. And realistically, even if Vader did get like morally redeemed and survived, like went back to Endor and stood trial, the rebellion would have executed him. Just straight up. He has killed more Jedi than any other person ever, even more than Grievous. You know? And maybe his motives weren't quite as bad as Grievous's, but like, and you can argue about that, but like, that you just can't. You just can't with that kind of person. And you can, agree to disagree, but
Yeah, so we're talking about Grievous. We're talking about the evil killer cyborg.
yes.
All right.
Like,
well, I might be inclined to agree with you about
yeah.
the evil killer cyborg.
Like my
maybe
main point is
maybe the evil killer cyborg can't be redeemed.
yeah.
And you make a very very sophisticated and
yeah.
Yes, you really are.
I feel like Padme is trying to put the cart before the horse. To simplify it as much as possible, I feel like she's trying to end the war too early when there's still a lot of major players who can't
there's
be
still
left
this
alive.
one very evil cyborg robot that spins laser swords around and
Dooku,
stuff.
Ventress, and Grievous. Because Ventress does some fucked up shit too. Ventress is behind the Blue Shadow virus. That Nuvo Vindi has specifically her stuff. So technically,
What?
yeah. Did you not know that? Yeah,
Mm.
that's all her.
Nope.
That's why it's in the That's why it's in her section of Clone Wars. Lego Star Wars 3: The Clone Wars. It's like off screen, but Nuva Vindi is going there because Ventress is like in charge of that project. So like,
okay.
Yeah. So her being behind that, like the effort to release the Blue Shadow virus on Naboo and kill everyone, that's Ventress. So I would argue it's not just Grievous, it's Ventress and it's Dooku. If you can get rid of those three, like those ones, you can't capture them. They're too dangerous to capture. Because look at every time they try to capture Grievous, he always gets away. And every time they try to capture Dooku, again, he always gets away. Same with Ventress. And people usually end up dead when that happens, So they're too dangerous to be left alive. Mace Windu is right. The key point here is that Mace Windu is right, 110% right when he's trying to kill Sidious. Some people are too dangerous to be left alive, and Count Dooku is one of them. And so I think that when Anakin realizes this and he continues to fight the war, but Padme is trying to end the war before these three people are taken out, I feel like it puts her husband in more danger, which is sort of a dick move by a spouse, right? You wouldn't let your wife text and drive while you're in the car, right? Because like she's putting you directly in danger. That's fucked up, right? I feel like that's a little fucked up. So if you're like putting your spouse in danger, your bad spouse, and if you're trying to end the war while these three are still in power, you're kind of a bad person and a bad politician because you're letting half the galaxy be damned to be ruled by a Sith Lord and a genocidal cyborg robot and a bald witch, That's my thing. I think Padme doesn't have the stomach for fighting unless she's actually in a life or death situation. And maybe that's good, right? Maybe she's not willing to sacrifice other people unless she's willing to fight alongside them. But then why doesn't she give up her senatorship and actually go on the front lines and fight? Because I'd say she's better as a fucking general than she is as a senator, much like her daughter, her eventual daughter. I would say General Organa is a much better general than senator. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, maybe I'd agree because he accomplishes more.
No, I'm talking Leia. Leia Organa is a better general than she is a senator.
Well, I mean, the first time we see her, she's being detained, so it's not a really great
I'm
impression.
including like off the record, like off screen stuff. I'm talking like expanded universe stuff. But like she accomplishes way more as a general, you know, putting together the Battle of Yavin, right? Like getting that together, you know, escaping with the plans from the profundity, right? Leading Vader on that wild goose chase, getting them onto the planet, getting the plans. You know, she doesn't necessarily do this, but she like gets the droids to do it. She's smart enough to figure out that this strategy will work. And then, you know, she gets the plans. She helps come up with the battle plan. You know, she helps General Thodana, General Willard, the other guys. Yes, I know all of their names. All the old guys in Yavin. And yes, I know how they all die as well. It's very cool. But like she helps them do that. She also helps with the Battle of Hoth and the Battle of Endor. And while while she's not there to directly help, she's a big player in the Battle of Jakku, where she wins, right? And like later on though, she's not a good senator, you know, because the First Order still rises when
And that makes her a bad senator.
she fucked it up. Even though the fucking, I don't know, I would have gotten ahead of it, being like, my dad is Darth Vader. I'd have gotten ahead of that, but you know, I imagine it would be hard. You know, like people would hold that against you. So you know, maybe that's going to be hard to escape the shadow of, because that's the main reason why she's not a senator anymore in Force Awakens, is because the First Order gave someone information that her dad was Darth Vader, and they played it during a Senate hearing. It was a big. They played a message that Bale left for her, confessing that Darth Vader was her father. So, like that was big, right? And that would have been hard to like avoid. But even after that, she shows that she's a really good general, because she helps put together the Battle of Starkiller Base, and you know, even while unconscious, she helps come up, or like right before she goes unconscious, she helps put together the Battle of Crate plans, you know? Like she got them there and like had them ready to go before, you know, she got sucked out into space, right? So I would say through what we've seen on screen and what we can infer from things that connect to what's on screen, General Organa is a better general. And I would say Padme is a better general than she is a senator, because she fucks up the military act thing. She fucks that up, you know? But she does have Palpatine working against her, you know? So I get it. But I don't know. I just feel like Padme has reckless disregard for the safety of the Republic and of her husband. And do you feel like I've made some points about that are reasonable?
I might not agree with everything you said, but you made some points.
And they were reasonable?
I mean, you know, they're your points.
So yes.
I don't agree with them. I don't agree with them.
I mean, just because you don't agree doesn't mean they're not, like, there's logic and reason and like rational thinking behind them.
I mean, you know, it's what you think.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because like this side of politics is like more interesting to me, and like I pay more attention to it in the real world, because I got very into the Ukraine war. I got very, very into that. And so a lot of these like people holding up the like the aid stuff while people are dying, you know, like holding up the war effort while people are dying because they just want to have peace, and like more aid doesn't help them like end the war,
Yeah,
right?
you're thinking about like, I don't know. There's a lot of that going around right now
Hmm.
in this country,
But that sort of started. I think it
but it's
started.
happening right now.
Yeah. Oh no, it actually started a year before because I was
Yeah,
rewatching
it
them with
started
my
many
ex at
months.
that time.
It started years and years ago. I mean, it
No, I'm
goes
talking
far
about me
back.
noticing this. I'm talking about me noticing this
Oh,
started. I rewatched them with my ex. We
you
did
rewatched what? I'm talking
these
about.
episodes of Clone Wars. These
Oh,
episodes of Clone Wars. So
okay.
with her, I tried to watch all of Star Wars chronologically in universe. So there was a lot of jumping around in Clone Wars. And we got to those episodes, and as I was rewatching them, I was like, wait, hang on. Padme kind of sucks. If I was Anakin, I would be really pissed off at Padme because I need those clones to live, you know?
I mean, when you have circular logic like that, it just, I guess you're
Well,
right.
what's circular about it?
It's like the clones protect my husband. And so the more clones I make, the more protected my husband is. And you don't have to think about the consequences of what happens when you just overload on soldiers and like war materials.
Well, it's not just war materials. They're also doing like food, logistics equipment, medical equipment,
But
that sort of
you should
thing.
understand that the bill that like and the stuff that Padme fights against aren't asking for those things. They're asking more specifically about the addition of more soldiers or
Well,
of like funding a war effort.
that's the key point, right? Even in real life,
Is
you
it
know,
is right? But like how do we go about understanding that that is the key point?
that's like part of it, in like all the Ukraine aid bills. Again, most of it is like we're giving them like tanks and bombs and stuff, and they're we're giving them all this stuff, right? But like nobody ever talks about like, okay, we're giving them food and like logistics equipment and stuff to like purify food and water and like MREs and stuff like that, vehicle repair stuff, medical stuff, like we're giving them all this stuff, but people only focus on the weapons and stuff like that. So in universe,
I
we
mean,
aren't getting.
it's kind of important to draw attention to it because, we
Yeah.
can't just like choose to ignore the things we want to ignore.
Yeah, I'm just saying in universe because it's a fucking kids show. They're not going to literally go over every single thing in the bill and be like, okay, so they're making this kind of logistical ship and these medical stations and all that sort of thing. We're not seeing every single little thing itemized in there. So like they have to dumb it down a lot. And so I think if we're assuming that it is a reasonable military creation act, they aren't just creating more clone soldiers. They have to also create all the things that go with them and all of the logistics that they have to do to rebuild some of these planets after their battles,
I feel like it's not really like, even though you talk about it being dumbed down, you don't really, I don't know. It seems like you're not fully getting it on the dumbed down level. Cuz like the the passing of the bill is that there are not more soldiers that end up being made. The bill is not passed, and that's like seen as a victory in the episode. But you don't agree with that. I think I'm gonna
I
I'm gonna
I don't think
speculate.
that's a I don't think that's a victory.
Yeah,
I
I
think that
know.
makes
Okay, so
the
that kind of,
eventual victory harder. That's a victory for the separatists that passes. It makes it easier for the separatists
I know you're like, you think the bad guys win because
because the good guys because there are less good guys. Like numerically speaking, there will be less good guys.
but like that is the end of the arc is that they don't end up funding more clones. And I think, I accept that that's the good ending of the show. I understand why the story tells it in a way that says that because we stopped an order that creates more soldiers to fight in a war, that we've done a good thing.
Knowing that Revenge of the Sith happens 4 years later or 3 years later, with the outside knowledge that we have, yes, it's good. I never said that that's a bad thing, because that means, you know, less homeless clone veterans, right? That's good, right? Or like less fucking clones being like just killed off, because the Kaminoans love just killing off clones because they see them as their property, right? That's so, knowing what we the audience know, it's a good thing that they didn't make more. But from the standpoint of what the characters know at that current moment, that is a victory for the Separatists, because they have less clones that they're going to have to fight.
I know
They're going to have to. The Republic are going to have to do more with.
I guess
less.
you could argue it on whatever side you want, and it'll work for your view. That's great.
It's I just really don't think that, like, when you fight a war, and this was a very common sentiment in the Civil War, and it was a very common sentiment in World War II, which is, if you're in a war against evil, and you're, you know, like the fate of like the galaxy, and or like the world, and like the fate of like billions of people is at risk, war should be dirty and quick and ruthless and, you know, like done and dusted and total, right? You know, we didn't win the Civil War in 4 years because, you know, we were pussyfooting around for the first 3, right? We, once General Grant and General Sherman were given the command that they needed to really implement that strategy of total war and like quick and strong, like overwhelming force, we were done in like months. You know, like they had it done super quick. And I think that if you really want peace, and in a war, if you really want it to be done quickly,
I think it's kind of absurd to think that the solution to creating peace is by generating war.
That is one of the oldest sayings in like human history.
Okay.
Si vis pacem, para bellum.
Okay.
If you want peace, prepare for war.
Do you think that the ideas put out from all those years ago are the same ones that we should be living by today?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I have to disagree. I think people made a lot of stupid rules dating far back, and like, you know, I think the responsibility of today is to create rules that are smarter than the ones that already are used.
Well, think about it like this.
Well, why don't you think about it? Why don't you think about how much better it would be if we thought of smarter things to do and create for rules?
Europe has been at peace for 30 years? Since the late 90s. When has there ever been a point where Europe has been at peace other than right now for that long? Not very often. But because we prepared for war, because mutually assured destruction, I'm a firm believer in the idea of, you know, there's like the Pax Romana, which is like the Roman Empire was like so big that like it enveloped all the nations that would normally be at war with each other, you know, and there've been, you know, Pax Britannica. Pax Americana is the one that we're in right now. I disagree. I think it is Pax Nuclearis. I don't know the official Latin way that you would say that, but I think the idea that we all have all these nuclear weapons has kept us from doing these big giant wars like we used to do in the 1800s and 1900s. You know, we don't see global like 7 years war, World War I, World War II, Napoleonic wars. We don't see those kind of wars anymore. All of them are relatively small scale and less people are dying. There's never been a war that like even comes close to like
What
World War
is
One or World War
what
Two.
is your definition of like a smaller scale of people dying?
Only like 1 or 2 countries are fighting in it.
We have like multiple countries fighting over things
It used to
right
be that
now. There are
multiple
multiple wars going
countries.
on.
It
There are
used to be that multiple country coalitions would go to war with each other for decades and millions of people would die. World War One, millions of people died. World War Two, millions of people died. Napoleonic Wars, millions of people died. 7 Years War, millions of people died. It's there
So you're using the events of the past where people have died to excuse the deaths of people now.
there are less people dying in wars now than there were before nuclear bombs.
What?
That is true.
What?
That's true.
I think we've gone so far off track. We might have to like ground ourselves
But we're
back
going over
to just the episode, what we're doing here.
but we're talking about the underlying morality and how it like ties into the real world. If you want to win a war, you have to win it by overwhelming force and do it quickly. It's the evidence shows that that's true. The quickest way to win a war is to bring overwhelming force on your enemy.
Okay.
And if Padme keeps
what
stopping
else?
us from building more Venators,
I just fail to see how like like overwhelming force is like a catch-all for all things that can be accomplished in war.
how else would they break through into?
Well, how else do you like close on peace?
By winning the war.
By just constantly fighting is what you're saying. You're saying
No.
you're saying like brutal and really serious means of fighting and acts of war are the most direct way to peace.
Yes.
And I'm saying that's wrong.
You would not be proven correct by the historical evidence.
Okay, well I'm not gonna try and like continue to fight with you on this because I don't think what I'm gonna have to share about my feelings is actually gonna change anything about what you feel. So I'm not gonna do it.
I would say to close, I would read a little bit more on like how we won the Civil War. Because for a long time people were fighting that the Clone Wars is very similar to the Civil War. And it's it went on for the same amount of time. It's a confederacy rose up against the Republic. Literally, the Union forces were literally named the Grand Army of the Republic in the Civil War. I'm shit you not. So it's like I would advise you to look up how that war went, because for the first part, there was a lot of like, we want to make peace with them, we want to maintain the Union, we want to do this, and the Confederacy kept being like, no, fuck off, we want to own slaves. And then eventually we said, here, send in some generals who will just absolutely bitch slap them. And if we bitch slap them hard enough, they'll stop fighting. And it worked. And it's the same thing with World War II.
I feel so removed from whatever we were originally trying to talk about.
Padme's making that big, strong offensive harder because we wouldn't have enough ships and clones to carry it out. And that's my point.
I think that argument can take some revisions.
I mean, where so?
Well, just the assumption that everything that is accomplished from like, I don't know, maybe from looking at like what how Padme's like arguments are accomplished by the Empire might be a way to start.
Well, the Empire, that happens later. I'm talking about from their perspective while they're.
I don't know. I don't know how to. I'm so lost on like trying to have a conversation about like good good mannering things and like positive messages about what, because like yes, it's called Star Wars, but like we have to think about like is everything that's going on in Star Wars a good thing because it's war.
No, it's not. It's not a good thing. But if you want the
But
fewest
like
casualties
I don't think
possible,
the point of Star Wars is to justify the modes in which war is um done in the show. I just
no. But if you're always trying to make peace with someone who very clearly wants to take advantage of it, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right? Because the Separatists are going to take advantage of this. Count Dooku and General Grievous want to take advantage of this. They General Grievous isn't in the war to fight to win independence for the Separatists. He just wants to kill the Jedi. He wants to exterminate the Jedi, including your husband, Padme. Give him the troops he needs to kill Grievous and Ventress and Dooku, and
I don't
then worry
know.
about peace.
I just it's such a ludicrous thing to equate like that thing with the death of all these people. Those things won't come out of a direct action like that.
But they did.
It's kind of weird to like speculate on it.
2 of the 3 people I mentioned were killed because the Republic had overwhelming force and killed them in a battle. Ventress was turned by Quinlan Voss and killed by Dooku. Like that's an outlier. But Grievous and Dooku being killed in in like big overwhelming battles shows that this was probably going to be like the best thing to do. If they had done this earlier, this would have been like so easy. It would have been done in like a year or a few months. But because or maybe not like that long, because they would have needed to like again build more ships at KDY and Rothana and all that, to get all these ships out on the line and on the front lines. But like if they had been able to get the funding they needed to really build this army, they would have been able to like smash through the systems, liberate them, get their resources, continue the war effort, and steamroll them. But because the Separatists were always outnumbering and outgunning them, the Jedi had to win on inferior numbers and inferior, like some might say inferior equipment. Like the droid, some of the droid stuff was actually really really good. Maybe not deployed in numbers, but like some of their stuff was better than like what the Republic was fielding. The droid gunship better than the Republic gunship. The droid tri-fighter better than the V-wing. That sort of thing. Some might say the Providence was better than the Venator. They were serving different roles, but like you got to question like, is a carrier going to be like a dedicated battleship? That's a question you got to think about. So a lot of the Republic stuff, is simply worse, and they have less of it than the Separatists do, because they can just keep cranking out droids and droids and droids on the cheap. And at what point will the attrition beat the clones? And if you keep stopping the funding or filibustering, like the Republicans are doing right now to the or were doing, to the Ukraine aid bill, Russians are going to keep sending inferior bullshit, but the Ukrainians who have less numbers keep getting pushed back. They have better technology, but there's less of them, and they have less stuff, so they can't really do anything. And it ties into real life, and maybe it's because I focus so much on these real world like conflicts and stuff like that, and I know this isn't really your interest.
Oh, it's not my interest. Wow, what a great assumption you can just make for me without my consultation. That I don't care about the world.
No, I don't think you pay. I don't think like real world military history, like going to Gettysburg battles and like reenacting and like studying troop movements and shit like that. I don't think that's your forte.
Maybe it's not my interest.
Yeah, and I'm just saying like it is more my thing to be into this like sort of history and like in this kind of politics. So like knowing all these things and knowing what I know about Civil War and World War II and World War One and how history plays out like this, what Padme is doing is not helping the war effort, which is fine. But when her husband is basically the poster child for the war effort, then that kind of sucks. And it kind of puts him in danger. And I don't like that. And that's my larger point. Does that sort of make sense?
I don't know.
Does it make sense as to why
I don't agree with
that?
it. I still don't agree with it.
But
I still don't agree with just because her husband, and it shouldn't even be relevant about her husband being on the front line. I think it should just be about what would be the best thing for people and for ending what's going on.
I'm judging her as a spouse.
I think that what she attempts to do in the show and in the movies is more than what's going on around her, and she's fighting forces that are the ones that are creating more conflict.
That's true, but she doesn't know that.
But I mean, like, if it's true, shouldn't we just accept it? Why can't we just accept what's true?
Because I'm not judging her from our perspective. I'm judging it from hers. I'm saying if I was like
I'm just saying senator, that, but like I've said my piece. I think you can think about it more.
If I was going to vote for a senator on Naboo, I wouldn't vote for her. And I'm explaining why. Granted, I don't know that she's married to Anakin. So maybe I have a little bit of outsider audience knowledge, but like from Anakin's perspective, let's look at Padme and like the shit that she should know and like how she should probably feel about the Separatists. And she just doesn't feel that way. She can't muster this like aggression and this like, I don't think aggression is always bad. This like, anger and like, hey, this is unjust. This is not cool. You've killed people on my behalf. And so on behalf of those people who died protecting me, I'm going to make sure that their Jedi brothers, including my husband, are going to stay alive the longest and win this war. So that way less of them will die. And that's my thing. Because so many Jedi sacrificed themselves for her. And Anakin and Obi-Wan are out there fighting to the death on the front lines. And she's trying to cut off their supplies and reinforcements. And I don't care for that. And I think Anakin would be like, what the fuck, Padme? I really needed those 3 new Venators that were in the bill that you fucking filibustered. You were reading fucking Star Wars equivalent of Dr. Seuss while fucking I lost like 20. That's a real thing. What's his name? Marco Rubio did that, I think, to his kids. He was filibustering some shit, and he read Dr. Seuss to his kids because they were watching C-SPAN. And like, while you were out there, doing your senator bullshit, 2,000 clone troopers got sucked in the vacuum of space because one of my Venators blew up. because we didn't have enough reinforcements to keep it protected. You know? And it's just like, yeah.
All right then.
But do you want to move on to the big red button?
Yeah.
Um,
I was just saying I'm going to Euclid to study with them. I made sure to mention.
hi, Maxwell's girlfriend. I said hi, Maxwell's girlfriend.
Hi. Just at big red button.
You get to live the lavish life of a galactic senator, but you have to debate me and listen to me filibuster every time you try and pass a bill.
All right, I guess I don't press the button.
Counterpoint. Think about all the cool fucking outfits that senators have. Think about all the cool outfits that Padme has. What's that one outfit? She has one that looks really good. I think it's the one that she has when like Embo's trying to kill her. That outfit I really like. I like that one. But like Bail Organa walks around with a fucking cape. You know? Like half the senators in the fucking Senate have capes. That's awesome. You know? And they get to go to fucking Squid Lake, the opera, you know? There's so many cool things you could do from a galactic senator, right? Like think about all the technology they have and think about how like even like a poor citizen in the Star Wars galaxy has like faster than light communication and can communicate with anyone anywhere in the galaxy ever, right? And then think about, oh wait, I'm literally like the top 1% of the 1%. I get to enjoy literally everything in the Star Wars galaxy. All this technology, I get to enjoy the pinnacle of it, right? Think about how cool that would be.
Yeah, but like everything else about it isn't cool.
Getting to listen to me filibuster for 12 hours straight
Yes.
would not be as cool. I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair play. All right, I would do it. I would do it if it meant I had to listen to you filibuster for 12 hours. How would you filibuster for 12 hours? What would you talk about? You know, Marco Rubio read Dr. Seuss. What would you talk about?
I would probably talk about the issue.
You can't talk about the issue for 12 hours.
I think there's a lot to be said. There could be a whole lot that could be uncovered and like dissected and thought about more.
But what if it's just discretionary bullshit? Because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
All right, I don't know.
This is like you have to filibuster everything. So if you had to filibuster for 12 hours every day, what would you talk about? You know? This is... In this scenario, you have to come up with things to talk about. And they can be anything, because that's how filibustering works. You can talk about anything, but you have to do it the whole time. Because if you stop, or if you like leave to go to the bathroom, you know, it ends, right? I don't have to explain filibustering to you. My bad. But, you know, just for the audience. But, like, yeah. I don't know. You know me, I can talk about anything for any time.
Yeah.
As is evidenced by this fucking show. But, okay. All right. I think that makes sense. Okay. All right. I think it's time we thank our beautiful, illustrious patrons. What do you think?
I think so.
Justin Connor, thank you very much for your incredible support. Supporter tier patron for so long. You're getting close to like 2 years. We really appreciate it. Thank you. We also would like to extend an invitation for all of you to come be our lovely patrons as well. We have the supporter tier. You know, you get the first part of every episode early as soon as it's like edited, and you also get you know, cool shout out like that. But if you join our $5 tier, you get access to all of our movie commentaries, not just the freebies. We have 2 freebies out right now. You get all of our movie commentaries and all of our episodes early and ad free as soon as they're done being uploaded, which is, that's crazy. It's like this week it's like 2 days early, but a lot of weeks, especially the summer, when we don't have as much going on, that's going to be like several days early. That's crazy. That's awesome. You definitely want to do that. So definitely go and join. Patreon.com/IIHS podcast. The link is in the description. We are also available on social media at IIHS podcast, all one word. That's at IIHS podcast on Threads, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, but we're not active there. And yeah, we're all there. That's the best place to go for updates, topic suggestions, Q&A, that sort of thing. Just randomly, talking about stuff. Some of our we're gonna post our bingo sheets for Bad Batch. We're gonna be posting that on Threads. So when this episode comes out, you'll see it there. So that's that. Hey, that's a good reason to go on our social media, so that way you can see just how close Maxwell was to winning bingo. So close, and yet so far. Just either one of those two little droids sucks to suck. But that's all from me. This has been a very long episode, but I feel like we talked about the issues that really matter. Whether or not Padme sucks.
I don't, but we did talk.
We did.
So we did.
And thank you all for listening. My name is Kael. I've been incredibly influential.
My name is Maxwell. I've been highly successful.
And I am the 7th. There you go. Happy May the 4th, all of you. And good luck on the rest of your finals week.